Chapter 25. Lu Zhiming was enraged by Xiao Qian. He thought that Xiao Qian would say that he would treat Lu Zhiming to a meal when he became rich one day. Then Lu Zhiming would be a little comforted, but he didn't expect him to pay for a meal himself. Xiao Qian. Just you wait. Lu Zhiming gritted his teeth and looked at Xiao Qian's back as he left. His face turned livid. Skipping the bill after eating in the school cafeteria? Lu Zhiming didn't have the face to do so, and he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. People all knew him. How could he escape? If it became big, the entire Lu family would lose face. People would say, "Look, the Lu family is still not good enough. Their level is too low," and they brought the habit of eating and dashing to the school. At that time, what greeted Lu Zhiming wasn't as simple as a fat beating. The Lu family was now putting gold on their face in front of outsiders. Smearing the Lu family's name? Lu Zhiming didn't dare. He took out a credit card and handed it to Thin Monkey. He said to him, "You go and pay the bill. Then, let's find a place to have a meeting and discuss how to deal with Xiao Qian." In the past, dealing with Xiao Qian was purely to take the opportunity to please Cheng Menjing, but now Lu Zhiming felt that if he didn't deal with Xiao Qian, he wouldn't be able to swallow it. Miss Cheng witnessed the whole process at the table in the corner. Although Xiao Qian's approach was similar to his previous scoundrel behavior, Miss Cheng still saw a trace of abnormality from this. She couldn't hear the conversation between Xiao Qian and Lu Zhiming. She didn't know that Lu Zhiming wanted Xiao Qian to pay the bill, but she also found it strange that Lu Zhiming treated Xiao Qian to a meal. Later, Xiao Qian ran away with the lunch bag, which made Cheng Menjing even more puzzled. Why did Xiao Qian run away? When I go back at night, I must ask him. Curiosity killed the cat, but Cheng Menjing still couldn't help being curious. In the past, she didn't have much contact with Xiao Qian, so she didn't care about what Xiao Qian did. Now in the new school, the only person that Cheng Menjing knew was Xiao Qian. And Xiao Qian was her male servant. Especially now, Cheng Menjing also felt that the Cheng family had wronged Xiao Qian, so she would pay attention to Xiao Qian more or less. After coming out of the cafeteria, Xiao Qian went straight back to the classroom, while Lu Zhiming called Ma Gangmen and Skinny Monkey to come to the basketball stand on the playground, ready to discuss how to deal with Xiao Qian and how to pursue Cheng Menjing. "Skinny Monkey, you have a good brain. You said that Xiao Qian went to Director Su, and Director Su's attitude, is he on Xiao Qian's side?" Although Director Su's attitude was impartial today, in Lu Zhiming's opinion, Director Su seemed to talk a bit too much today, so he let Skinny Monkey analyze it for him. It can't be. Director Su didn't say anything on Xiao Qian's side. I think it may be because Xiao Qian just transferred here, and Director Su has a deep impression of him, so he said a few more words. Skinny Monkey shook his head and said, "But Xiao Qian is smart enough to know how to get away. I have wasted so many abalone and lobsters, but I haven't eaten any of them. Yeah, more than 200,000 yuan. Ma Gangmen also regretted. Why didn't I move faster and pick up the lobster? Xiao Qian, that brat, took it away." Okay. After listening to the words of the two people, Lu Zhiming couldn't help but say angrily, "I didn't even get to eat fried rice in the end. You two are nothing. What we need to talk about now is how to deal with Xiao Qian, not complaining. How to deal with him. According to my idea, we block the kid in a place where there is no one, and use the electric cannon to kill him." Ma Gangmen gritted his teeth and said, "But Brother Ming, you need to use him to get close to Cheng Menjing. Yeah, if not, we won't suffer losses in the hands of this country bumpkin again and again." Skinny Monkey also said, "What? Do you two mean that you want to blame this on me?" Lu Zhiming looked at the two men and said sinisterly, "I don't dare." Ma Gangmen was shocked and said quickly, "How can we blame Brother Ming?" Skinny Monkey also said quickly, "Do you have any constructive suggestions?" Lu Zhiming asked. "Brother Ming, I think it's not realistic to use Xiao Qian to get close to Cheng Menjing." Skinny Monkey hesitated and said, "Before, when Ma Gangmen went to ask for protection fees from Xiao Qian, if there was a conflict at that time, we could tell Cheng Menjing that the new classmate was going to find you, Brother Ming. But now, Cheng Menjing saw that we invited him to lunch at noon, so we can't use him anymore. Yeah, Brother Ming, Xiao Qian has lost his value. It's better to stop him after school at night and beat him to death to vent his anger." Ma Gangmen also nodded and said, "At that time we can think of a way to pursue Cheng Menjing." Okay. Lu Zhiming nodded. He really couldn't take it. If he didn't beat up Xiao Qian, he would probably get sick from holding it in. Then tonight, go to the gym. Gangmen, tell Teacher Lei to vacate the gym. The places that Lu Zhiming wanted to teach people were the men's toilet, the rooftop, and the gym. But it was dark at night and he couldn't see clearly on the rooftop. It would be bad if he beat up the wrong person again. It was better to go to the gym. Okay, I'll go find teacher Lei in a while. Ma Gangmin was in the school's boxing team, and Lei Dianfeng was also the coach of the boxing team. So, no one suspected that he was close to teacher Lei. Xiaoqin, no matter how much you eat at noon today, I will beat you until you vomit it all out. Lu Zhenming said with hatred. He, young Master Lu, had never been cheated by others. It had always been him who cheated others. Now that he was cheated by a country bumpkin, he had to vent his anger. If it weren't for the fear of being expelled from the school, I would kill this kid tonight. Yes, even if he digested it, he would beat the shit out of him. Ma Gangmen added. Then let him eat it. Skinny Monkey was even more disgusted. As the three of them were talking, a pretty boy who looked like a pretty boy came to them. I say, Lu, what are you doing? Are you having a party under the basketball hoop on such a cold day? It turns out to be young Master Kun. As soon as Lu Zhenming looked up, he saw Yu Xiaochuan, the young master of the Yu family, also one of the 9 aristocratic families. He was also Tang Tang's fiancé. Of course, their engagement had long been in name only. Yu Xiaochuan nodded. He enjoyed being called young Master Kun very much. He called Lu Zhenming Lu, but Lu Zhenming called him young Master Kun, which highlighted the identity of the two. The Lu family was a new aristocratic family, and naturally could not be compared with the old aristocratic family like the Yu family. Look at you guys gnashing your teeth. What's wrong? What's the trouble? Yu Xiaochuan rarely poked his nose into other people's business, but he felt comfortable being called young Master Kun today, so he asked one more question. In fact, it's nothing. He's just a country bumpkin transfer student. After school I will let him know how powerful I, Lu Zhenming, am. Lu Zhenming said lightly. Naturally, he couldn't let Yu Xiaochuan know that he was cheated by a country bumpkin of more than 200,000 yuan. If he said it, Yu Xiaochuan would laugh his head off. Oh, then you guys still have a serious meeting. You guys are giving face to that country bumpkin. Yu Xiaochuan curled his lips. He knew that Lu Zhenming didn't tell the truth, so he said sarcastically. Of course not for him. In addition to this country bumpkin, there's also a goddess Cheng in our class. I'm thinking about how to pursue her. Lu Zhenming didn't hide it. He also wanted to spread the news in front of Yu Xiaochuan. Cheng Menjing was valued by Lu Zhenming, so others shouldn't get involved. Cheng Menjing? Yu Xiaochuan was slightly stunned and asked. Hearing Yu Xiaochuan call out Cheng Menjing's name, Lu Zhenming's face suddenly changed. Young Master Kun, you're not going to steal a woman from me, your little brother? My engagement with Tang Tang hasn't been broken yet. How can I pursue someone else? Yu Xiaochuan shook his head. He was a hypocrite, so he naturally had to pretend. Do you think I'm Xiaoqin of the Xiao family fooling around with a woman in front of my fiancé? Now the result is good, right? The engagement has been broken off, right? That's really a big idiot. I heard that he committed suicide? Lu Zhenming also heard of Xiaoqin. I think he's looking for trouble. The Xiao family's face has been lost by him. I guess the Xiao family has long wanted to drive him out of the family. Taking advantage of this matter, they directly drove him out of the family. Lu Zhenming thought of others with the situation of his own Lu family. The Lu family, a new aristocratic family, cared the most about face. They always regarded themselves as an aristocratic family, for fear that others would say that their family was not qualified. However, Yu Xiaochuan and Lu Zhenming were both students of the second middle school. They had never seen Xiaoqin. They had only heard of Xiaoqin, but they didn't know the name Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin's engagement was broken off. In their eyes they were just watching the fun. No one expected that Xiaoqin transferred to the second middle school. Their families had no contact with the Xiao family. Not to mention them, even their elders would not care about these things. What I want to remind you is that this Cheng Menjing is Xiaoqin's fiancée, the Cheng family's Cheng Menjing. You have to be careful when you pursue her. Don't cause any trouble. Brother, I can't protect you. Yu Xiaochuan patted Lu Zhenming's shoulder and said. Lu Zhenming had always respected Yu Xiaochuan in school. He always regarded himself as a younger brother, which made Yu Xiaochuan quite pleased with him, so he reminded him in passing. Cheng family? Lu Zhenming's body trembled and cold sweat suddenly appeared on his forehead. This is the Cheng family, the head of the 9 aristocratic families. Fortunately, I didn't use force or some words of coercion and temptation. Although the Lu family is also one of the 9 aristocratic families, it's worlds apart from the Cheng family. However, Lu Zhenming was afraid, but he suddenly felt that this was an opportunity. If he could bring the beauty home and marry Cheng Menjing, wouldn't the Lu family soar? With the support of the Cheng family, it would be completely different from now. Thinking of this, Lu Zhenming gritted his teeth and decided to pursue Cheng Menjing. Chapter 26. Thank you for reminding me, young Master Kun. I'm really grateful. If you need my help in the future, young Master Kun, just tell me. Lu Zhenming said gratefully. You're welcome. Yu Shaochuan waved his hand and said, then you continue the meeting. I'll leave first. Young Master Kun, take care. Lu Zhenming said happily. However, Yu Shaochuan, who turned around, snorted. Cheng Menjing? Do you think it's so easy to pursue her? Let's not talk about whether Cheng Menjing agrees or not. Even if she agrees, the Cheng family won't like your Lu family. However, he didn't say these words. If he said it, it would make Lu Zhenming unhappy. It was better to encourage him. Lu Zhenming thought that he was good to him. In Yu Shaochuan's heart, he actually wanted to get a piece of the cake. However, because of his fiancée Tang Tang, Yu Shaochuan could only endure it. Yu Shaochuan had always been a good boy and a genius in front of everyone. So, after the engagement was completely broken off, he couldn't pursue others. Although the Yu family had released news several times before that they wanted to break off the engagement with Tang Tang, after all, Tang Tang looked like this. If the Yu family asked her to be the eldest grandson's daughter-in-law, it was a bit embarrassing. The Tang family was naturally in the wrong. Old Master Tang also acquiesced to this matter. However, now the Yu family and the Tang family still had a cooperation, and the thing that maintained this cooperation was the marriage of Yu Shaochuan and Tang Tang. Even if both families knew that this engagement would be broken off sooner or later, it was at least a bond to maintain the relationship. Tang Tang had moved out of the family, and the Tang family didn't care about it, which also showed this point. After Yu Shaochuan left, Lu Zhenming also fell into deep thought. Cheng Menjing's identity was the eldest daughter of the Cheng family, so his pursuit strategy had to be adjusted accordingly. Fortunately, it didn't lead to a disaster. Shaochen returned to the teaching building with a bag of delicacies. As soon as he walked into the classroom, he saw Tang Tang coming from another direction with a bag of rolls in her hand. Shaochen? Didn't I tell you not to go out? Why did you go out? Lu Zhenming didn't give you any trouble, did he? Tang Tang was slightly stunned when she saw Shaochen, and then asked with some annoyance. Are you still hungry? Shaochen glanced at the bag of rolls in Tang Tang's hand and suddenly realized why Tang Tang only ate a steamed bun when she went out before. The steamed bun was not big. How could she not be hungry? It was he who had overlooked it. No. Tang Tang blushed a little and said, this is our dinner. We have a self-study class in the evening. We will be hungry if we don't eat before. Ah, you're not full, I'm not full either. See, I brought you some after I finished eating. Shaochen raised the bento bag in his hand, shook it in front of Tang Tang's eyes and said with a smile. At least you have a conscience. This is abalone? Lobster? After Tang Tang saw the things in the transparent bento box, she suddenly widened her eyes and almost didn't stare out. Shaochen, do you have money? Even if you have some savings, you can't spend it like this, right? Do you know how much it cost? What will you do in the future if you don't have it? Tang Tang was not happy when she saw these delicacies. Instead, she was furious. In her opinion, Shaochen had just been kicked out of the house, and he probably had some savings in his hand. But what if these savings were spent? Moreover, it would cost at least 1 or 200,000 yuan. How many days would she have to sell breakfast to earn back this money? Tang Tang's heart was bleeding. How can I have money to buy this? When Shaochen saw Tang Tang's expression, he knew that she had misunderstood. He suddenly felt a little dumbfounded. This is Lu Zhenming's treat. I took the rest back. Lu Zhenming? Tang Tang was stunned, but she was even more surprised. He treated you to eat? How is it possible? Shaochen, don't lie. If you lie to me, we can't even be friends. If you tell me the truth, I don't blame you. After all, you lived a good life before. He really treated me. Shaochen shrugged and told Tang Tang about the previous situation. Of course, it included Lu Zhenming's plot to make him treat. You are quite smart. You know to find Director Su. After listening to Shaochen's words, Tang Tang also believed it. She nodded and said, but you are also ruthless. You cheated Lu Zhenming of so much money. Be careful, he will take revenge on you. What will come will come. Even if I didn't cheat him at noon, the person who would be cheated must be me. I can't hide, so I might as well cheat him. Shaochen said helplessly, I really don't know how to provoke that kid. Why did he target me? That's true. Tang Tang nodded. I'm also very strange. Why did he target you? But it doesn't matter. At school he dare not deal with you blatantly. Next time he asks you to go somewhere, you don't go. At other times I will help you keep an eye on him. Don't worry about it. Eat first. It won't taste good if it's too cold. Shaochen said. He was a cultivator. In the words of the elder heaven ancestor, it was a very rare, powerful and high-end profession. Why should he be afraid of Lu Jinming? Haha, then I will take advantage of you. Tang Tang was not polite. She took the lunch bag in Xiao Chen's hand and walked into the classroom. Tang Tang put the abalone and lobster on the desk. Her eyes began to shine. It was delicious. She hadn't eaten meat for a long time, not to mention high-end seafood. Tang Tang couldn't help but grab an abalone and put it into her mouth. It was delicious. It was so delicious. Xiao Chen looked at Tang Tang, who couldn't wait to eat, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. When he was in number 1 middle school, it was Zhu Yingxiong who treated him very well. Now that he was in number 2 middle school, it was Tang Tang who treated him well. Xiao Chen had packed all the seafood for himself. Otherwise he wouldn't have packed it away after eating only one. Although Tang Tang was a little fat, she was very real, which made Xiao Chen feel that this little girl was still very cute. At least when he was with her, Xiao Chen could be open, and he didn't have the worries of being with a beautiful woman. It was also good to have such a buddy. Xiao Chen didn't eat it. What hadn't he eaten before he was kicked out of the Xiao family? It was only one day and he was not greedy for these things. However, the aroma of abalone and lobster attracted the attention of a boy sitting in front of Tang Tang and Xiao Chen. He turned his head and looked at the dishes on the table in surprise. Holy *T class rep Tang, did you win the prize? You bought so many delicious food? Jing Xiaoquan, if you want to eat, then eat. Xiao Chen's treat. Tang Tang was never a stingy person, which could be seen from the fact that she didn't hesitate to give lunch to Xiao Chen, so Xiao Chen didn't stop her. Then I won't be polite. Jing Xiaoquan was obviously a friendly person. He directly broke off a lobster pincer and put it in his mouth. He said while eating, Xiao Chen, I didn't expect that you are also a nouveau riche. Looking at your dress, I was almost cheated by you. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't say too much to Jing Xiaoquan. After all, Jing Xiaoquan and Xiao Chen weren't particularly familiar with each other. Xiao Chen also ate a few mouthfuls. It didn't take long for Lu Jinming to return to the classroom with Ma Gangmen and the thin monkey-like man. Seeing Xiao Chen and the other two eating heartily, Lu Jinming's eyes flashed a trace of impatience. Mother *Ker, I let you eat, then spit it out tonight. After a few breaths, Lu Jinming calmed down the anger in his heart. These 3 people ate with my money. I haven't eaten yet. Delicious, delicious Xiao Chen, thank you. I didn't expect the abalone in the school cafeteria to be so delicious. Jing Xiaoquan said while eating with his mouth and hands full. When Lu Jinming heard this ear-piercing voice, he became even angrier. He suppressed his anger and sat back in his seat. Jing Xiaoquan didn't notice, but Tang Tang saw Lu Jinming's expression. At this time she also believed Xiao Chen's words. Sure enough, Lu Jinming's face looked like he was cheated. The first class in the afternoon was a self-study class. Originally, Lu Jinming wanted to find trouble with Xiao Chen after school. But when he saw Xiao Chen and the others eating heartily, he couldn't help it. He walked in front of Xiao Chen and said to Xiao Chen with a gloomy face, "Boy, go out with me for a while." Go out? For what? Of course, Xiao Chen knew Lu Jinming's purpose. It was nothing more than because he suffered losses at noon. Lu Jinming wanted to teach him a lesson, but he pretended not to know. For what? Of course, I want to *CK you. But Lu Jinming couldn't say that. You are new here. I just want to teach you some rules. I have invited you for lunch at noon. What else can I do? Could it be that you're afraid? Then tell me. It's my first day here. I don't want to be expelled because of truancy. Xiao Chen was not afraid of Lu Jinming, but until now Xiao Chen still hadn't figured out why Lu Jinming kept staring at him. Okay, then let's talk after school. Seeing that Xiao Chen didn't leave, Lu Jinming thought he was afraid. But he would wait patiently until school was over. At that time he would see if Xiao Chen had any reason to refuse. After that, Lu Jinming turned back to his seat. After Lu Jinming left, Jing Xiaoquan turned back with some doubts. Buddy, how did you offend Lu Jinming? Didn't Ma Jinggang ask you for money before? It's just 10,000 yuan. Isn't it a piece of cake for you? You just need to spend money to avoid trouble, right? In Jing Xiaoquan's view, Xiao Chen was a local tyrant who bought lobsters and abalones without blinking. How could he be short of 10,000 yuan? Why did Lu Jinming show up in person in a twinkling of an eye? Tang Tang glared at Jing Xiaoquan and said, how could Xiao Chen have the money to buy it? Isn't it Lu Jinming who bought it? Lu Jinming? Just now he said that he invited Xiao Chen for lunch at noon. Is this what he meant? Jing Xiaoquan was a little surprised. Just like Tang Tang before, his eyes widened. In his view, this matter was a little unbelievable. Lu Zhiming invited Xiao Chen for a meal, and he still wanted to trouble him? This was not scientific at all unless Lu Zhiming had a problem with his brain or water or puncture. Chapter 27. It's like this. Tang Tang told Jing Xiaoquan about the situation at noon, and then said, "Okay, Jing Xiaoquan, don't get involved. It's none of your business." Damn, Xiao Chen, you're awesome. After Jing Xiaoquan heard it, he immediately gave Xiao Chen a thumbs up. You cheated Lu Zhiming of more than 200,000 yuan. You really dared to do it, but the abalone and lobster are really delicious. Jing Xiaoquan, are you gloating over my misfortune? You're awesome. Tang Tang frowned, then turned to look at Xiao Chen and said, Xiao Chen, school is over. Don't listen to Lu Zhiming. Don't go with him. I'll go home with you. Let's see what he can do. Tang Tang, your method is not a problem, but you can't hide forever. Jing Xiaoquan interrupted, I say buddy, now you have to figure out how you offended Lu Zhiming. Find the reason and then deal with it. How would I know? Xiao Chen said with a wry smile, in the morning Maji asked me for 10,000 yuan, but I didn't have it. At noon they asked me to have a meal. Tang Tang told you what happened next. How could I offend him? That's true. After Jing Xiaoquan heard Xiao Chen's words, he could not help but frown. Indeed, if it was as Xiao Chen said, there was no hatred between the two of them. If there was any hatred, it had only been formed during lunch. However, Lu Zhiming had no reason to treat Xiao Chen to a meal. For the protection fee of 10,000 yuan, there was no need to make a big fuss to invite Xiao Chen to a banquet, and then let Xiao Chen pay the bill. This Xiao Chen could not even take out the protection fee of 10,000 yuan. How could he afford the meal? It's okay. I'll go with them after school. Xiao Chen said indifferently, Jing Xiaoquan, you're right. I can't hide forever. I'll ask them why they are targeting me. Xiao Chen, it's not that I look down on you, but if you go with them tonight, you probably don't have to come tomorrow. Jing Xiaoquan patted his head and said, Xiao Chen, do you know what Lu Zhiming's family does? In the morning, Xiao Chen and Tang Tang talked in a low voice, so Jing Xiaoquan didn't hear it. He didn't know Xiao Chen's background. He thought that Jing Xiaoquan didn't know Lu Zhiming's family. What do you mean? Although Xiao Chen knew what Lu Zhiming's family did, he could only pretend not to know. To be honest, Xiao Chen didn't care about Lu Zhiming, Ma Gangmen, and the thin monkey-like trio. His current strength was equivalent to the first stage of internal strength. If he wanted to, he could directly send Lu Zhiming and the other two to the west for Buddhist scriptures. Lu Zhiming's Lu family is one of the 9 well-known families, and it started by mixing with the underworld. It occupies 3/4 of the underworld in Songning City. Do you think you can have a good result if you follow such a young master of the underworld? Jing Xiaoquan said, Don't say that I didn't remind you. Several students in the school have been suspended by them. Suspended? How serious did they have to be suspended from school? Xiao Chen didn't expect that Lu Zhiming was so ruthless. Xiao Chen had bullied others before, but it was not so serious. Then what do you think we should do? Asked Xiao Chen. He didn't know why, but Xiao Chen felt that Jing Xiaoquan wasn't a simple person. Perhaps it was the vision of the children of the aristocratic families, or perhaps it was because of the intuition of a cultivator. Let's talk about numbers. Jing Xiaoquan said, Since you didn't offend him, then let's talk about it. Once we talk about it, there will be no problem. Talking about numbers was the jargon of the negotiation between the underworld. Xiao Chen naturally understood it. What if they don't talk to me? Asked Xiao Chen. I've eaten so much abalone and lobster in the afternoon. Jing Xiaoquan sighed helplessly. I'll accompany you after school. I'll go with you after school. Jing Xiaoquan sighed. You? Asked Xiao Chen. Buddy, don't look down on me. My brother Kuan is also famous in the school. Jing Xiaoquan patted his chest and said. Tang Tang pondered for a while and then said, Xiao Chen, Jing Xiaoquan is right. Find a chance to talk to Lu Zhiming. It's not a way to go on like this. I will go with you tonight. Come on, class monitor Tang, I have to take care of you if you go. You are no longer the young lady of the Tang family. It's fine. I will go with you tonight, said Jing Xiaoquan. Forget it, young Master Zheng. Is there any difference between you and me? Don't forget who replaced your Zheng family. Tang Tang was very smart. She pointed out Jing Xiaoquan's identity without batting an eyelid. She didn't say Xiao Chen's identity because Xiao Chen wanted a new start. His identity was naturally not suitable to be exposed. However, Tang Tang also wanted to let Xiao Chen know who Jing Xiaoquan was. Sure enough, Xiao Chen understood. The Zheng family. This was the family that was previously replaced by the Lu family. The Zheng family was also a family that mingled in the underworld. Of course, it wasn't completely underworld in nature. It was a half-black and half-white existence. The Zheng family's biggest business was a security company and a martial arts school. As for the underworld, although it occupied a large share of Songning City, it didn't sell drugs. Drugs were an important source of income for the underworld. The Zheng family didn't sell it, nor did they allow other gangs to sell it. Every time they sold it, they would rob it. This was also the reason why the Zheng family was particularly hated. Therefore, a new underworld family rose up. Under the support of a master, they united other small gangs and gave the Zheng family a fatal blow. Although the Zheng family didn't perish, their vitality was greatly damaged. Their power was not as great as before. The Zheng family's most powerful martial artist, Zheng Dao, was also seriously injured and his strength was greatly reduced. This made the Zheng family have to withdraw from the ranks of the aristocratic families and become an ordinary family in Songning City. To Xiao Chen's surprise, the Zheng family was also here, but he didn't know what the relationship between Zheng Xiaoquan and Zheng Dao was. It doesn't matter whether I replace them or not. I'm a master. At least I still have the deterrent power. Zheng Xiaoquan said, I don't believe that Lu Zhenming wants to make things worse and send me to the hospital. Although our Zheng family is not doing well now, we're not a soft persimmon. Don't worry. I'm here to guarantee that Xiao Chen will be fine. After listening to Zheng Xiaoquan's words, Tang Tang pondered for a moment and nodded. She said, Zheng Xiaoquan, you're a good friend. I didn't treat you in vain. Xiao Chen, let Zheng Xiaoquan accompany you on this trip tonight. Come on, just bring me a few fried dough sticks and sesame seed cakes that you haven't sold out in the morning. Is that good enough for me? Zheng Xiaoquan rolled his eyes. I'm only here because I ate the seafood at noon. I can't treat it as a free meal, right? Tang Tang knew that Zheng Xiaoquan was a loyal person, but this loyalty was for her, not Xiao Chen. Tang Tang didn't think that Zheng Xiaoquan would do anything for Xiao Chen on the first day he met him. Tang Tang and Zheng Xiaoquan were buddies. They were actually classmates in elementary school, junior high school, and high school. For so many years, if Tang Tang hadn't been engaged to Yu Xiaochuan, they could have been called childhood sweethearts. Qing Minjing sat in her seat and frowned. Lu Zhenming was going to trouble Xiao Chen after school. Should she help him or not? If she helped him, her relationship with Xiao Chen would be exposed, and Xiao Chen's identity would also be exposed. She was afraid that this was not what Xiao Chen wanted to see. But if she didn't help, she couldn't just watch Xiao Chen being beaten on the first day of school, could she? Although in Qing Minjing's view Xiao Chen really deserved a beating, he was her follower. How could he be beaten up by you? If you want to beat him up, I should do it myself. Therefore Miss Cheng was very confused. She almost didn't listen to the rest of the class. She was thinking about what to do at night. However, just when Miss Cheng was confused, Lu Zhenming took the initiative to come over and sat on the empty seat next to Qing Minjing. Qing Minjing, let's get to know each other. My name is Lu Zhenming from the Lu family. After that, Lu Zhenming reached out his hand and looked at Qing Minjing eagerly. Oh, hello. Qing Minjing naturally couldn't shake hands with Lu Zhenming, so she just replied indifferently. Minjing, Lu Zhenming still have a lot of power in this school. If you encounter any trouble in the future, just tell me. I will help you. Lu Zhenming said, of course with Miss Cheng's identity, you may not need me to do anything, but there are some things like teaching someone a lesson. I can do it for you so that Miss Cheng's hands won't be dirty. I heard that you were going to teach that Xiao Chen a lesson tonight? Qing Minjing didn't know how to intervene in this matter. Since Lu Zhenming mentioned it, Qing Minjing also pretended to ask casually. Xiao Chen, that kid doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He said that he would treat us to lunch at noon, but he ordered a lot of abalone and lobster. He even asked me to pay the bill. Does he think I'm a fool? Lu Zhenming naturally wouldn't tell the truth. In his opinion, Qing Minjing was so far away that she shouldn't know the truth. Oh. Qing Minjing certainly wouldn't believe that Xiao Chen would take the initiative to treat Lu Zhenming to lunch, but she said calmly, oh? How are you going to teach him a lesson? I'm going to take him to the gym. What? Minjing, are you interested in watching? Lu Zhenming took the opportunity to invite her. Then, let's go and watch. Qing Minjing nodded as if she was tempted, but she was relieved in her heart. If she went, if Xiao Chen was really beaten, she would find a suitable time to stand up and persuade Lu Zhenming to forget it. She would say that she was afraid of blood. Most likely Lu Zhenming would give her face. For Lu Zhenming's mind, Qing Minjing was clear. Even when she was in number 1 middle school, she had Xiao Chen as her fiancé, but there was no lack of pursuers around her, such as Chao Yuliang. Okay Minjing, I will call you tonight. Lu Zhenming was overjoyed. He He thought, does Qing Menjing also like violence? It seems to be the case. Thinking about it, her previous fiancé was a bully. Since Qing Menjing is willing to be engaged with him, it means that she must like him. As for breaking off the engagement now, Lu Jinming didn't think much about it. It was entirely the family's behavior. Did these children of aristocratic families have the right to choose? In this way, Lu Jinming felt that if he could catch up with Qing Menjing, it would be very promising. Am I not the type that Qing Menjing likes? Chapter 28. You can call me Qing Menjing or Miss Cheng. We are not very familiar with each other yet, Qing Menjing said indifferently on the surface, but she was extremely disgusted in her heart. She hated Xiao Chen again. You bastard. You're causing trouble for me on your first day of school. You even made me put on an act and ask Lu Jinming to think of a solution for you. You're pissing me off. If it weren't for the fact that you are so pitiful because of the Qing family, I wouldn't care about your life or death. Do you think you are still the old Xiao Chen? You provoked Lu Jinming as soon as you went to school. Let him beat you first. Then I will ask for mercy. It is a lesson for you. Okay, then I will call you Qing Menjing. Lu Jinming thought that Qing Menjing meant that he could call her Menjing after they were familiar with each other. He was very happy. The afternoon passed by quickly. What was to come would eventually come. After the evening self-study session, Lu Jinming found Xiao Chen again. Xiao Chen, you have nothing to say this time, right? Now that there are no more classes and school is over, can you come with me? Because of Qing Menjing's observation, Lu Jinming's mood was much better. His tone to Xiao Chen was not as harsh as before. Let's go. Where are we going? Since Xiao Chen had made a decision, he naturally didn't talk nonsense with Lu Jinming. He stood up directly. You won't know where to go even if I tell you. It is your first day here. Just follow me. Lu Jinming naturally couldn't say that they were going to the gymnasium. There were many people in the classroom. If others knew that he was going to the gymnasium, they might be suspicious. How could Lu Jinming get the key to the gymnasium? After school, other than the sports clubs that sometimes trained in the gym was always locked. Isn't it just going to the stadium? Why are you being so mysterious? Let's go. I know him. Zheng Xiaoquan stood up lazily and followed behind Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was touched by Zheng Xiaoquan's action. Whether it was because of Tang Tang or the seafood at noon, at least Xiao Chen remembered Zheng Xiaoquan's favor. Originally, Xiao Chen thought he was down and out, and only Zhu Yingxiong stayed with him. Unexpectedly, he met two like-minded friends, Tang Tang and Zheng Xiaoquan, when he just transferred to the No. 2 middle school. Zheng Xiaoquan? Why are you joining in the fun? When he saw Zheng Xiaoquan stand up, Lu Jinming frowned and said, It's none of your business. Go away. Lu Jinming, isn't it because of the lunch at noon? I ate too. Zheng Xiaoquan said, If you think it's too much, how about I treat you to a banquet one day? Damn it, you treat me? Who do you think you are? Lu Jinming was a little angry. Usually he would give face to Zheng Xiaoquan. Although the Zheng family was down and out, Zheng Xiaoquan was a warrior, and his strength was slightly higher than Lu Jinming's. Therefore in school Lu Jinming tried not to conflict with Zheng Xiaoquan. Even a rabbit would bite when it was anxious. It was not worth it if he was beaten by Zheng Xiaoquan. But today, because Qing Menjing was watching, Lu Jinming wanted to show off in front of Qing Menjing. If he just played it down, where could he find such a good opportunity to show off? If he didn't trample on others, how could he show his dominance? Lu Jinming, did you get shot? It seems that you don't even want to give face to me, Zheng Xiaoquan. I was kind enough to be a peacemaker. Since you don't know what's good for you, then I will go with Xiao Chen to see what tricks you can play. Zheng Xiaoquan said coldly. Although his Zheng family was now in decline, it was also at the mercy of others. Zheng Xiaoquan's words immediately made Lu Jinming frown. Although the Lu family was strong now, if the Zheng family went all out, the Lu family wouldn't have it easy either. In the beginning, if Zheng Dao of the Zheng family wasn't injured, and the Zheng family wanted to preserve their strength, so they took the initiative to give up their territory and aristocratic family position. They wanted to fight the Lu family to the end. Although the Lu family would win in the end, they wouldn't be as glorious as they were now. Not to mention the aristocratic family position, they wouldn't even be able to keep their current territory. After all, if they fought to the death with the Zheng family, the Lu family's strength would also be greatly damaged. How could they make those small gangs listen to the Lu family? However, although Lu Jinming was angry, he couldn't directly fall out with Zheng Xiaoquan. He could only take a deep breath and think of countermeasures in his heart. He wanted to see how he could stop Zheng Xiaoquan from making a move. Lu Jinming led the way in front, Xiao Chen and Zheng Xiaoquan followed behind, and Ma Jingang and the thin monkey-like man were at the back. Not far away, the people who followed were Qing Menjing and Tang Tang. Although Tang Tang didn't follow directly because she was worried, she followed far behind. Qing Menjing was nominally going to watch Lu Jinming teach people a lesson, so she naturally followed behind. Tang Tang noticed Qing Menjing, and Qing Menjing also noticed Tang Tang, but they weren't familiar with each other. Because Tang Tang became friends with Xiao Chen, she didn't have a good impression of Qing Menjing, who broke off their engagement. Soon the group came to the gymnasium in the northeast corner of the school. At this moment the gymnasium was dark. Ma Jingang took out the key, opened the door skillfully, and turned on the lights of the gymnasium. Tang Tang saw that Qing Menjing also walked into the gymnasium, and then stood next to Lu Jinming. She couldn't help but frown. Why does it seem that Qing Menjing and Lu Jinming are on the same side? Could it be that Qing Menjing asked Lu Jinming to teach Xiao Chen a lesson? Isn't she too bad? Thinking of this, Tang Tang hated Qing Menjing. A woman's heart is the most vicious. He is your former fiancé. However, Tang Tang forgot that she was also a woman. She also hated her fiancé, Yu Xiaochuan. If there was a chance, she wouldn't hesitate to beat Yu Xiaochuan. However, in Tang Tang's view, Yu Xiaochuan was a hypocrite full of evil tricks, while Xiao Chen was much more real. Bang! The door of the gymnasium was closed. Because the windows of the gymnasium were very high, Tang Tang could only see the lights in the gymnasium, but she couldn't see the scene in the gymnasium. She could only eavesdrop at the door of the gymnasium, but unfortunately she couldn't hear anything. In fact, seeing that Jing Xiaoquan and Tang Tang came over, Miss Cheng was a little surprised. She really didn't think that Xiao Chen would be so popular that the eldest daughter of the Tang family and the eldest son of the Zheng family would stand up for him. However, the identity of these two people was not much better than Xiao Chen now. They were extremely down and out. Xiao Chen, do you know why I asked you to come here? Lu Jinming glanced at Qing Menjing and then began to pretend. He took out a toothpick and put it in his mouth just like a gangster boss in the movies. Okay, Lu Jinming, stop pretending. If you have the ability, smoke a cigarette in your mouth and take a toothpick to pretend. Xiao Chen didn't speak, but Jing Xiaoquan said first, didn't I say that? You want to count? I'm here. Isn't it just abalone and lobster at noon? I'll invite you back another day. You. Lu Jinming was very angry. It was not that he didn't want to smoke, but he had quit smoking. It should be known that smoking was very harmful for warriors. In order to practice, he changed to pretend to be cool with a toothpick. But Jing Xiaoquan actually asked him to smoke. Wasn't it a trap? Okay. Then let's forget about the matter at noon. How about the matter of him scolding Ma Gangmen in the morning? Lu Jinming took a deep breath. He knew that Jing Xiaoquan was pestering him endlessly, but he had no way to deal with it. After all, Jing Xiaoquan also ate the lunch at noon. Or you can ask Ma Gangmen to scold him back. Jing Xiaoquan made it clear that he was here to smooth things over. Damn it, scold him back? If you kill me, will I be able to kill you back? It's useless to say these things. Besides, he scolded Ma Gangmen, not me. Ma Gangmen has the final say on how to teach him a lesson. After that, Lu Jinming glanced at Ma Gangmen next to him and winked at him. Well, Xiao Chen, I, Master Ma, will not make things difficult for you. Let's have a fight. No matter who wins or loses, we'll forget about today's matter. How about it? Ma Gangmen said, the standard of winning or losing is that one person beats the other until he kneels and begs for mercy and licks the leather shoes. Then he wins. Of course, in order to prevent you from kneeling and begging for mercy and licking the leather shoes, there is a time limit. You can only admit defeat after 10 minutes. Otherwise, even if you are beaten to the ground, you can only accept it. How about it? Lu Jinming, do you think this is fair? Jing Xiaoquan asked, how about I go up and fight with Ma Gangmen? F***ck off. Jing Xiaoquan, I have already given you a lot of face. Lu Jinming snorted coldly and said, it's none of your business. In the morning, the person who scolded Ma Gangmen was Xiao Chen, not you. However, if you kneel on the ground and kowtow to me 3 times, and then lick the dust on my leather shoes, then I will let Xiao Chen go. How about it? Can you do it? You? Jing Xiaoquan was very angry with Lu Jinming. This was a naked humiliation. Although Jing Xiaoquan was very worried about Xiao Chen, it was absolutely impossible for him to kneel. If he kneeled, it represented the Zheng family's compromise with the Lu family. From then on, the Zheng family's only territory would be given away. Lu Jinming had a good plan. If Jing Xiaoquan kneeled today, although Lu Jinming could not teach Xiao Chen a lesson and could not win Qing Menjing's heart, the Lu family would get too many important things. Compared with this, he would rather postpone his own plan. What about me? I'm already very fair. Xiao Chen provoked Ma Gangmen. He and Ma Gangmen have a one-on-one fight. I did not bully him with more people. What else do you want? After Lu Zhenming finished speaking, he turned to look at Cheng Minjing and asked, Goddess Cheng, do you think it is fair for me to do this? Gong, ping. Cheng Minjing had no choice but to say that it was fair. However, she had already decided that when Xiao Chen was beaten down, she would come forward to plead. Did you hear that? Jing Xiaoquan Xiao Chen Cheng Minjing just transferred here today. It is impossible for her to be with me. She said that it is fair, then it is very fair. Lu Zhenming said. Chapter 29. Okay, don't be angry. Xiao Chen patted Jing Xiaoquan's shoulder. Jing Xiaoquan could do this today and Xiao Chen was very grateful. I agree to your condition. I will fight with Ma Chang. Good, you are very good. When Lu Zhenming heard Xiao Chen call Ma Gangmen Ma Chang, he was angry and laughed. Later, let me see if you can still say the word Ma Chang. You brat, remember, your master Ma is called Ma Gangmen. Ma Gangmen began to move his body and rubbed his palms. In his opinion, it was okay for Xiao Chen to be stubborn now. Later he would kneel and cry. Got it. Anus bootlicker. Xiao Chen nodded. Ma Gangmen, let's start. Don't talk to him about those useless things. Lu Zhenming waved his hand and ordered Ma Gangmen directly. Okay. Ma Gangmen laughed sinisterly. His iron tower-like body walked towards Xiao Chen step by step. In his eyes, Xiao Chen's physique was no more than that of a little chick. Beating him up was a piece of cake. Jing Xiaoquan saw it and was anxious. If Ma Gangmen really started, 10 minutes was enough to beat Xiao Chen until half of his body was paralyzed. At that time, everything would be too late. If something happened to Xiao Chen, how could he explain it to Tang Tang? At that time he could guarantee it. Wait. Jing Xiaoquan gritted his teeth and made a decision. This decision was for Tang Tang. He could see that Tang Tang was very worried about Xiao Chen, so he didn't want Tang Tang to be sad. I can kneel, but this kneel only represents myself. Jing Xiaoquan's words stunned everyone present. Lu Zhenming was stunned, Missy was stunned, and Xiao Chen himself was stunned. Lu Zhenming really didn't expect that Jing Xiaoquan would compromise for an outsider. What's more, Missy didn't expect that Xiao Chen's popularity was so good. Only Xiao Chen seemed to vaguely understand something. Although Jing Xiaoquan was loyal, it was definitely not to the extent that he would make such a sacrifice for a lunch. All of this might be because of Tang Tang. But regardless of whether it was true or not, Xiao Chen was very grateful and touched. Jing Xiaoquan, the Jing family, he would remember this. He would never forget this favor. When he was at his lowest, when he was just an ordinary person, Jing Xiaoquan helped him. Too late. Now that the duel has begun, it's useless no matter what anyone says. Lu Zhenming was not stupid. Jing Xiaoquan said that this kneeling was only on behalf of himself, which meant that it had nothing to do with the Zheng family. Then what was the use of this kneeling? Naturally, Lu Zhenming would not agree. However, in order to prevent Cheng Minjing from thinking that he was going back on his words, he used the excuse that the duel had already begun. Thank you. Xiao Chen smiled at Jing Xiaoquan and said, in a while, it's not certain who will kneel and beg for mercy to lick the leather shoes. It's a pity that I'm wearing sneakers today. It's a little difficult to lick them clean. Puff. After listening to Xiao Chen's words, Jing Xiaoquan could not help but feel happy. He did not expect Xiao Chen to be so optimistic. However, he also decided that if Xiao Chen could not do it, he would force himself to stand up for him. Don't say those useless things. Hurry up and start. Lu Zhenming was now looking forward to the scene of Xiao Chen's blood flowing like a river. He could not wait to shout. Boom. A bloodthirsty light flashed in Ma Gangmen's eyes. He punched out fiercely and hit hard at Xiao Chen. Ma Gangmen punched mercilessly. As long as he punched, he would beat Xiao Chen to death. How dare he give Ma Gangmen a nickname? He really did not want to live. Pa. However, after Ma Gangmen punched out, he found that something was wrong. He didn't feel the refreshing feeling of hitting the enemy. Instead, it was like hitting an iron plate. Ma Gangmen took a closer look. His fist was actually caught in Xiao Chen's hand. **MN, this kid's reaction is quite fast. He can actually block my punch. Ma Gangmen had some underestimation in his heart, but this kid's strength was also quite great. He blocked my punch with his palm? However, Ma Gangmen did not mind. Sometimes, fighting required skills. It was not something that could be achieved with brute force. Previously, when he punched out, he rubbed his palms together. It might have made Xiao Chen take precautions, but it would not happen the next time. Thinking of this, Ma Gangmen suddenly pulled back his fist. He wanted to punch Xiao Chen again, and then give him a left and right combo to see if he could still resist it. However, the next moment, Ma Gangmen was a little anxious because his fist was caught by Xiao Chen's palm. He wanted to pull back but he could not. Let go of me. Ma Gangmen suddenly increased the strength of his hand. He wanted to pull his fist back, but he found that his fist in Xiao Chen's palm did not move at all. Seeing that his right hand really couldn't be pulled out, Ma Gangmen had no other moves. He could only punch out his left fist. In his opinion, as long as Xiao Chen defended his left fist, he would definitely relax his vigilance. He could also take the opportunity to pull out his right hand. However, the idea was beautiful but the reality was cruel. When Ma Gangmen's left hand was also caught by Xiao Chen, he found that he was in a tragedy. Both of his hands couldn't move. How could he still fight? Ma Gangmen, what are you playing? Do you think it is a competition of internal force between masters of internal force? Lu Zhiming didn't experience it personally. It was hard to imagine that Ma Gangmen was restrained by Xiao Chen, so he frowned and shouted, "Hurry up and beat him down. Stop playing." However, not far away, Jing Xiaoquan's mouth flashed a smile. The Xiao Chen hit it quite well. Well, it shouldn't be said that he hit it quite well, because Jing Xiaoquan could see that although Xiao Chen was better than Ma Gangmen, Xiao Chen was definitely not a martial artist. He did not use internal force. In other words, he was not even a master of internal force level 1. This showed that Xiao Chen was probably very strong. He was born with divine power. If such a person cultivated internal force, his future would be limitless. Ma Gangmen couldn't say it. If he said that he was restrained by Xiao Chen, wouldn't he be a joke? He was a fighter under Lu Zhiming, but he was actually restrained by a thin transfer student. If this news spread out, not only Ma Gangmen's face would be lost, but also Lu Zhiming's face. Bang! Just when Ma Gangmen was still thinking about how to get out of this predicament, Xiao Chen made his move. To be exact, it was a kick. Xiao Chen kicked Ma Gangmen's crotch. Ma Gangmen let out a loud ouch. His whole body was in so much pain that he jumped up. Then, his forehead became drenched in sweat. Although Xiao Chen was a cultivator at the first level of the refinement stage, he still kept the playboy method of teaching others a lesson. He directly greeted the opponent's most vulnerable place. However, at that time, it was usually Qin Jinping who restrained the opponent, and then Xiao Chen would make a move. After kicking Ma Gangmen's penis, Xiao Chen also loosened his hand. Ma Gangmen directly knelt on the ground in pain. He covered his crotch with both hands and it was so painful that he wanted to die. This scene, except for Jing Xiaoquan who had expected it, Lu Zhiming, the thin monkey-like man, and Cheng Menjing all widened their eyes. Lu Zhiming never thought that the person who knelt on the ground would be Ma Gangmen, and it was so fast. Cheng Menjing knew Xiao Chen's means of playing tricks on people. Kicking the enemy's crotch? In the past, Cheng Menjing was a little ashamed of this. She felt that Xiao Chen was completely relying on Qin Jinping. If she let him fight the enemy by himself, let alone kicking the enemy's crotch, she estimated that he would not even be able to touch the enemy's body. But today it completely subverted Cheng Menjing's cognition. Xiao Chen actually beat Ma Gangmen to the ground? This guy is so powerful. I was worried about him and tried to help him plead. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have talked so much nonsense with Lu Zhiming. I'm so angry. Xiao Chen, you wait for me. This trick, I learned it. Wait for me to kick your crotch. However, thinking of this, Cheng Menjing's face suddenly turned red. Although Lu Zhiming had been paying attention to Ma Gangmen and Xiao Chen, he was also paying attention to Cheng Menjing from the corner of his eyes. He saw that Cheng Menjing's face turned red after Ma Gangmen was knocked down. He thought that Cheng Menjing was excited to see a hot-blooded scene. It turned out that Cheng Menjing really liked hot-blooded violence, but it was a pity that the person who was knocked down today was Lu Zhiming's man. In this way, Lu Zhiming's level would probably plummet in Cheng Menjing's heart, right? Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming had a burst of irritation for no reason. He shouted at Ma Gangmen, "Are you dead? If you're not dead, get up and beat him up." In fact, there was no need for Lu Zhiming to say this. Ma Gangmen was already furious. When had he suffered so much? He hated it. How was it possible? How could Xiao Chen be so powerful? Ma Gangmen endured the pain, put his hands on the ground and prepared to get up. However, what he didn't expect was that Xiao Chen went behind Ma Gangmen and kicked Ma Gangmen's buttocks. Boom! Xiao Chen's foot directly kicked Ma Gangmen's anus. Ma Gangmen hadn't gotten up yet. With a ow sound, his whole body flew forward and fell heavily on the floor of the gymnasium. His nose was bleeding and it flowed everywhere. Why-ya-ya-ya-ya. Ma Gangman's anus was almost dislocated by Xiao Chen's kick. He struggled on the ground in pain. His eyes were red and he wanted to kill Xiao Chen, but he couldn't get up. Boom. It was another kick. Xiao Chen directly stepped on Ma Gangman's head, and his head, which had just been raised, was directly in close contact with the ground again. This time not only Ma Gangman's nose was bleeding, but even his mouth was bleeding. His teeth knocked on his lips. Not only did his lips break, but several teeth were also knocked out. Brother G, oh no, Brother Si, how do you feel? The sole of Xiao Chen's shoe stepped back and forth on Ma Gangman's face, making Ma Gangman unable to speak. He could only make woo-woo sounds. Chapter 30. Well, Xiao Chen, we admit defeat this time. Lu Zhiming did not expect that things would develop to this point. Ma Gangman's strength was relatively top-notch among aspiring martial artists. In Lu Zhiming's opinion, as long as he practiced for a while, he could successfully break through and be promoted to the first stage of inner energy. However, he did not expect that such a powerful character would be beaten by Xiao Chen, a country bumpkin without any power to fight back. Moreover, according to Lu Zhiming's observation and perception, Xiao Chen was not a martial artist because he did not have inner energy. He was so powerful, which could only be attributed to his greater strength and agility of his body. Therefore Lu Zhiming was quite unwilling to lose. If he was beaten by Jing Xiaoquan, then he would not have any thoughts. His strength was not as good as Jing Xiaoquan's, so he would be beaten. But Xiao Chen, an ordinary person, was so powerful. However, Ma Gangman obviously had no chance to turn the tables. If he continued, he would only humiliate himself. Lu Zhiming simply admitted defeat. Admit defeat? We admitted defeat before, but you didn't agree. Now according to your rules, only 5 minutes have passed. There are still 5 minutes left. It's not 10 minutes yet. How can you admit defeat? Zheng Xiaoquan unceremoniously brought out the previous rules of Ma Gangmen. Lu Zhiming looked at Zheng Xiaoquan with hatred. He was extremely angry in his heart. Damn you, Ma Gangmen were not sure, but you still had so many rules. Now you have shot yourself in the foot, haven't you? Without that diamond, how could you pretend to be so arrogant? Bang! With a kick, Xiao Chen kicked Ma Gangman's anus again. Ma Gangman was unreasonable before. Now how could Xiao Chen let him go easily? It was not Xiao Chen's character to let go in the middle of the fight. Besides, even if Xiao Chen let Ma Gangman go now, would Lu Zhiming let it go in the future? At most, they would admit defeat in a short period of time. Afterward, they would definitely want to take revenge. Therefore, Xiao Chen might as well give Ma Gang a hard blow directly, and it would be best to torture them until they were traumatized. Ouch! Ma Gangman screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He felt that his anus was no longer his own. His anus had ruptured, and his pants were dyed red with blood. Qing Minjing really couldn't stand it anymore. Xiao Chen was too vicious, but Qing Minjing also knew that if Xiao Chen didn't beat Ma Gangmen down, the one howling on the ground would be Xiao Chen now. It seemed that although Xiao Chen was useless and couldn't cultivate inner force, his physical fitness was still very good. At least, it was much better than ordinary people. Ma Gangmen didn't expect that the 10 minutes he set to torture Xiao Chen for a little longer would become his own nightmare. 10 minutes seemed to pass in a blink of an eye, but at the moment, it became extremely slow for Ma Gangmen. Ma Gangmen was kicked to the back and his whole person was numb. He just prayed secretly in his heart. Hurry up, hurry up. Finally, the unbearable 10 minutes passed. Ma Gangmen seemed to have come down from the execution ground. He lay on the ground like a dead dog, panting heavily. Kneel down and lick the shoes. Xiao Chen looked at Ma Gangmen, and there was no sympathy in his eyes as he said coldly, Xiao Chen, that's enough. Lu Zhiming couldn't help it. Today's matter, let's write it off. Let's stop here, okay? Okay, if that's the case, then forget it. Xiao Chen nodded. With Ma Gangmen's current situation, it was impossible for him to get up and lick the shoes. He was kicked by Xiao Chen to the ground and couldn't move, and Xiao Chen didn't want to force Lu Zhiming too much. At least, Lu Zhiming said that today's matter was written off. Although his words weren't very credible, in a short time, it was estimated that Lu Zhiming wouldn't find trouble with him. This was enough. What Xiao Chen lacked the most now was time. If one day he had the strength of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, even if he faced the entire Lu family, it would be nothing. What happened today probably wouldn't be spread out. Lu Zhiming was a person who cared about his reputation. How could he casually tell others about such a thing? Zheng Xiaoquan didn't know his identity, and the Missy probably wouldn't casually say it, so Xiao Chen was still very at ease. For Xiao Chen's action of letting Ma Gangmen go, Zheng Xiaoquan nodded approvingly. Before, he taught Ma Gangmen a lesson, and he didn't completely make Lu Zhiming lose face. He was a person who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. In Zheng Xiaoquan's view, although 5 minutes and 10 minutes were very different for Ma Gangmen, there was no difference for Lu Zhiming. The person who suffered was Ma Gangmen, and the pain wouldn't be added to Lu Zhiming. But if Ma Gangmen knelt down and licked the shoes, it would be Lu Zhiming's face. Even if he endured it today, he wouldn't let it go tomorrow. Now the matter was finally over. Thin Monkey opened the door. You take Gangmen to the hospital. I will take Miss Cheng home. Lu Zhiming's face was very gloomy. Today's matter was beyond his control. He had to calm down. Yes, Brother Ming. Thin Monkey quickly ran over and opened the door of the gymnasium. However, when the door was opened, he didn't expect to see Tang Tang standing at the door. Thin Monkey was stunned, but he didn't say anything and let Tang Tang rush in. Tang Tang saw the intact Xiao Chen and Ma Gangmen lying on the ground. She was suddenly stunned. She looked at Jing Xiaoquan with some astonishment. You did it? It was Xiao Chen? Jing Xiaoquan smiled bitterly. I was just a bystander. Don't say that. Thank you for today's matter. Xiao Chen patted Jing Xiaoquan's shoulder and said solemnly. Skinny Monkey walked over and lifted Ma Gangmen up. Then he quietly walked out of the stadium. In the past, he often did this kind of thing. However, the people he carried out were usually people who had been beaten up. Then he would throw them into the hospital and not care about them anymore. But today the person he carried was his brother, Ma Gangmen. Cheng Menjing, it's late. Shall I take you home? Lu Zhiming took a deep breath and made a gesture of invitation to Cheng Menjing. He said eagerly. No, there is a car to pick me up. Cheng Menjing shook her head. Well? Lu Zhiming didn't doubt it. After all, with Cheng Menjing's identity, it would be strange if she didn't have a car to pick her up or drive her own car. So Lu Zhiming didn't insist. He nodded and said, See you tomorrow? After Lu Zhiming finished speaking, he quickly chased in the direction where Thin Monkey left. He still had the means to win people's hearts. Since he didn't need to send Cheng Menjing, he naturally accompanied Ma Gangmen to the hospital. As for the door of the gymnasium, he didn't need to pay attention to it. Lei Dianfeng would come to lock it at night. What the hell is going on? Why is Ma Gangmen lying on the ground? Tang Tang looked at Xiao Chen in shock. Did you do it? Well, I come from the mountains. It's normal for me to be strong. I usually fight with wild beasts, so I practice it. Xiao Chen smiled and said, I have a bit of brute force. Oh, I see. Jing Xiaoquan nodded. No wonder you are so strong and your reaction is very agile. So that's why. However, if it weren't for you, I'm afraid it would be 3 against 1. I guess it would be me lying on the ground now. Although Xiao Chen was confident to deal with 3, it was not the time to show his strength. He said gratefully, Xiaoquan, I recognize you as my brother. Ah, we are good brothers. We Tang Tang and we can become sworn brothers in the peach garden. Zheng Xiaoquan laughed. Cheng Menjing stood alone on the side. She didn't know why at this moment when she saw Xiao Chen, Tang Tang and Jing Xiaoquan talking and laughing, she felt very uncomfortable. Perhaps the 3 of them were from the same world and she was no longer on the same level as him. But you are my follower, aren't you? You're too much of a bastard to leave me aside like this. In fact, Xiao Chen was wronged. I dare not disclose our relationship in the university. I think you don't want to have a poor fiancé, right? What are you still doing here? Are you disappointed that Xiao Chen wasn't beaten? Tang Tang also saw Cheng Menjing and her smiling face became cold. You. Cheng Menjing stamped her feet and quickly ran to the entrance of the stadium. The young lady was so angry that her chest was heaving. Yes, she was about to explode. Seeing Cheng Menjing ran away, Xiao Chen sighed slightly in his heart. He wanted to chase after her, but he couldn't leave directly because of Tang Tang and Jing Xiaoquan. It seemed that Tang Tang misunderstood the young lady. Xiao Chen, do you have anything to do tonight? Let's find a place to have a drink? Jing Xiaoquan asked. Another day. I'm a little tired today. I'll go back first. Xiao Chen hesitated and refused. Who knew how the young lady was? Well, another day then. Jing Xiaoquan didn't care. So many things happened today and it was the first day that Xiao Chen transferred here. It was normal for him to be tired. However, Tang Tang pondered and puffed her cheeks. She wanted to say something but she didn't say it in the end. Instead she said, Xiao Chen, go back early. See you tomorrow? Okay. Xiao Chen nodded and quickly ran out of the stadium, chasing in the direction of the young lady. Jing Xiaoquan didn't think much. He thought that Xiao Chen was afraid of Lu Zhiming's revenge, But Tang Tang knew that Xiao Chen must have gone to chase Cheng Minjing. What's so good about Cheng Minjing that you're so obsessed with her? Didn't he see that she was here to watch the fun? Tang Tang was a little exasperated. However, she also understood. After all, Cheng Minjing was Xiao Chen's former fiancée. They must still have feelings for each other. Damn Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen. You should have told me earlier if you were so powerful. You made me worry for nothing and talked so much nonsense with Lu Jinming. You wait for me. I've learned it. Next time I'll kick your little brother and kick your ass. Cheng Minjing walked to the door and found that she was confused. She couldn't find the way home at night and her father didn't come to pick her up. How could she go back? Chapter 31. Therefore the lost Missy began to curse Xiao Chen at the school gate. She even mistook the stone under her feet as Xiao Chen and kicked it to death. Xiao Chen didn't actually waste much time. He ran fast. When he reached the school gate, he heard Missy cursing him. He couldn't help but have a cold sweat on his forehead. Kicking my little brother. Is it so ruthless? Cheng Minjing doesn't look like such a vicious woman. It seems that you can't judge a book by its cover. Ahem. Xiao Chen coughed twice and stood behind Cheng Minjing. Who? Cheng Minjing was shocked and quickly turned her head. When she found that it was Xiao Chen, she was relieved, but then she became nervous again. Did this guy hear the angry words I said before? If he heard it, it would be so shameful. He had even said that he was a little brother. Xiao Chen, you scared me. You come and go like a ghost. When did you come? Cheng Minjing said so, but the most important thing was the last sentence. I just came. What's wrong? Xiao Chen pretended to be indifferent, but he knew in his heart that Cheng Minjing didn't go to see him make a fool of himself, but perhaps she wanted to take the opportunity to plead with Lu Jinming. Although Xiao Chen didn't know the specific reason, he could see it from Cheng Minjing's attitude. However, Xiao Chen didn't ask. He knew that Missy did this because she sympathized with him. In addition, he was her follower. She didn't want anything to happen to him, but it was different from liking him and having a crush on him. Xiao Chen wasn't that narcissistic. Before he was kicked out of the Xiao family, Missy didn't like him, let alone now. So Xiao Chen didn't bother to ask. If he asked more, it would only increase the awkwardness, as if he misunderstood that she liked him. It was enough to know that Missy's kindness was enough. Nothing. I thought you were going to resign. Cheng Minjing snorted. I can't find my way home. I'll give you a chance to take me home. Uncle Cheng didn't come? Xiao Chen felt that Cheng Minjing was so arrogant and funny. To be honest, although Xiao Chen's memory was good, the villa was not very close to the school. Although it was only 10 minutes by car, it would take at least half an hour to walk. Of course not. If I came, I would have left long ago. Did you think I was waiting for you? Cheng Minjing said coldly. Of course, even if Cheng Zhongming came, Cheng Minjing would still wait for Xiao Chen. However, how could she admit it? Let's see if there's a taxi here. Let's take a taxi back. If we walk here, it will take at least half an hour. Don't you have a car? How can I have a car? Xiao Chen used to drive to and from school, but now that the car was taken back, he wasn't used to it. No, I used to live on campus. How can I have a car? Cheng Minjing rolled her eyes and snorted. Do you think I'm like you, Xiao Chen, driving to and from school every day? Getting a flashy sports car to pick up girls? Ahem. I don't have a car. Xiao Chen's face turned red, but he didn't know how to explain. I've decided to buy a car. In the future you will be my driver. Cheng Minjing thought about it. It was indeed inconvenient to not have a car. There was a dormitory apartment in number 1 middle school, but there was no accommodation in number 2 middle school. They were all-day students, so a car was very important. As they were talking, a taxi drove over and stopped in front of Cheng Minjing and Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen skillfully sat in the front passenger seat and let Miss sit in the back seat. The taxi driver was a little puzzled. Aren't this man and woman a couple? Why are they sitting separately? Could it be that they have a quarrel? Xiao Chen reported the address of the villa. The taxi driver saw that both of them were going to the same place. It was obvious that they were living together. They probably had a quarrel, so he said while driving, "Young man, it seems that you have a quarrel with your girlfriend, right?" Hee. Xiao Chen didn't comment because he really didn't know how to explain his relationship with Mississippi, say that he was Mrs. Manservant? Who would believe it? It was hard to believe that in modern society, there were study companions and attendants if one wasn't from an aristocratic family. Don't laugh. You have such a beautiful girlfriend, but you don't know how to cherish her. You even quarrel. Don't blame me for being talkative. I'm also an experienced person. The taxi driver sighed and said, when I was young, I also quarreled with my wife non-stop because of some trivial matters. It wasn't until the year before last that she fell ill and lay in bed in a coma. She became a vegetable. Only then did I regret it. Now, I regret that I didn't cherish the time back then. Ah. But it's all over. Don't think that I'm nagging. I just want to tell you that young people should know how to cherish. Cherish the happy times you have together. Xiaoqin was a little silent. Happy times? I don't seem to have any happy times since I was young. Since I was sensible, I suffered because I couldn't cultivate internal energy. I kept training every night. During the day, I had to pretend to be a playboy to reduce the hostility of others towards me. However, even so, I still attracted the persecution of others. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that my family was ruined. Have I ever lived for myself? The answer is no. What Xiaoqin regretted most was that he kept training at home every day, but he didn't have time to chat with his father. Now that he thought about it, Xiaoqin regretted it very much. His father was missing and he didn't know when he could see him again. Young man, have you thought it through? The taxi driver saw that Xiaoqin was silent and didn't speak. He thought that Xiaoqin had thought it through, so he said, "Then I will stop the car now. You go to the back and sit with your girlfriend." Ugh. Xiaoqin really didn't have any temper at all. I'm wronged. The miss finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. She helped Xiaoqin out of the situation. Master, thank you, but we didn't quarrel. I'm a little sleepy. I want to lie on the seat for a while. As Cheng Menjing spoke, it seemed like she was confirming her own words. She laid her body on the back seat. Since you are sleepy, young man, you should get off and let your girlfriend lie in your arms. As the taxi driver spoke, he stepped on the brakes and stopped the car on the side of the road. If Xiaoqin didn't get off, he wouldn't continue to drive. Xiaoqin had no choice but to get off and change to the back seat. However, when he got on the car, Miss Cheng glared at Xiaoqin. She had a look that said, "If you dare to touch me, I won't let you off." Fortunately, when he saw Xiaoqin get off the car and go to the back seat, the taxi driver didn't say anything more because the destination was coming soon. After getting out of the car, Xiaoqin originally wanted to pay the fare, but the young miss rushed to pay the fare first. Clearly, she also considered Xiaoqin's current financial situation, so she didn't force him to pay. Buy a car? I must buy a car. The miss made up her mind. If I am always misunderstood, what can I do in the future? It was already dark, but the lights on the first floor of the villa were on. Obviously, Yi Xiaoya was on the first floor. Xiaoqin and Cheng Menjing entered the villa together and saw Yi Xiaoya was busy in the villa's kitchen. She should be making dinner. The miss suddenly realized that she hadn't had dinner yet. In the past, when she was at school, she always ate in the school cafeteria. Today, because she went to see Xiaoqin, she missed the cafeteria's opening time. When she got home, she found that she was hungry. Xiaoqin, go and get something to eat. The miss ordered Xiaoqin. Get something to eat? Where can I get something to eat at this time? Xiaoqin was not hungry. Before the evening self-study class, he ate a few flour rolls bought by Tang Tang and the lobster and abalone left at noon, but the miss seemed to have eaten nothing. Left with no choice, Xiaoqin could only go to the kitchen to see if he could discuss with Yi Xiaoya and share some food with the Mississippi, pushing open the sliding glass door of the kitchen. What made Xiaoqin frown was that he didn't smell the fragrance of cooking, but a strong smell of boiling medicine. Xiaoqin couldn't help but sneeze. Yi Xiaoya turned back and glanced at Xiaoqin coldly, saying, I'm going to use it up soon. You can have it later. Well, I just want to ask, is there anything to eat in the villa, or do you have extra dinner? Xiaoqin said. He didn't know what disease this cold girl had, that she actually brewed such a big pot of Chinese medicine. No. Yi Xiaoya coldly pointed to a few clay pots on the kitchen stove and said to Xiaoqin, These pots are for me to boil medicine. They can't be touched with meat or fish. If you want to cook, buy your own cooking utensils. After that, Yi Xiaoya ignored Xiaoqin, turned off the fire, poured the boiled medicine soup into a big bowl, and then carried it out of the kitchen and went straight upstairs. Xiaoqin shook his head. It was really boring to get along with such a cold neighbor. But there was no food at home, so Xiaoqin couldn't do anything. He turned to the miss and said, There is nothing to eat. How about we go out to eat? It was so late. Although Cheng Menjing didn't want to go out and make trouble, there was nothing at home, so she couldn't do anything. She glared at Xiaoqin and said, You don't know how to leave some seafood for me at noon. Ugh. Xiaoqin smiled bitterly. He thought, even if I gave it to you, would you want it? With Miss Cheng's character, would she eat my leftovers? However, when they walked out of the villa, they were dumbfounded. What? Because there were no taxis in the villa area. Most of the rich people who lived here had cars. Besides, there were very few taxis in the community, let alone the villa area. However, it was 3 or 4 kilometers away from the villa area to the main entrance of the community. For Xiaoqin it was nothing, but for Qing Minjing it was a bit far. How about, you bear with it? Xiaoqin also had no choice. The villa area was full of villas and there wasn't even a snack bar. How can I bear it? I will be so hungry that I can't sleep. Qing Minjing glared at Xiaoqin. I won't be hungry if I sleep, said Xiaoqin. Chapter 32. You. Qing Minjing was so angry that she wanted to kick Xiaoqin. I don't care. You're my servant. You think of a way. I'm not Doraemon. Xiaoqin was a little speechless. Why don't we walk outside? Let's go. Qing Minjing also had no choice. If she didn't walk, she couldn't let Xiaoqin carry her, right? So, the two of them walked out of the villa area together. Although there were street lights in the villa area, it was very dim. Qing Minjing didn't want to be too close to Xiaoqin, but she was a little afraid. Just after they separated, she couldn't help but get closer to Xiaoqin. Qing Minjing's heartbeat was a little faster. Today was the first time she walked with a boy at night. Moreover, this boy was her ex-fiancé. It was impossible to say that Qing Minjing wasn't nervous. He is just my follower now. What is a follower? Wherever I go he will follow. Qing Minjing comforted herself in her heart. However, halfway through Miss Qing couldn't hold on anymore. She didn't eat much at noon. She just watched the strange things happening between Xiaoqin and Lu Jinming. At night, she stood in the stadium for a long time nervously and scared. She returned to the villa hungry and cold. When did Miss Qing suffer like this? She wasn't a martial artist. After walking for about 2 kilometers she really couldn't walk anymore. She pointed to a seat on the side of the road and said, I can't. I am exhausted. I want to rest for a while. Xiaoqin, you go and wipe me. Oh. Xiaoqin smiled bitterly. He took out a pack of napkins and simply wiped the seat. Miss Qing was obviously tired. She sat on the chair and moaned comfortably. She didn't want to leave. Xiaoqin heard Miss Qing's lazy moan. His lower body shamefully had some reaction. It scared Xiaoqin and he quickly sat next to Miss Qing. He didn't dare to let Miss Qing see the flaw. This was really a bit shameful. Although Xiaoqin seemed to be a bully in No. 1 middle school, he was actually a little virgin. A gust of night wind blew, and the nice fragrance of Miss Qing blew to Xiaoqin's face. Xiaoqin couldn't help but take a deep breath. His heartbeat was slightly accelerated. Xiaoqin quickly focused his attention on the night and didn't dare to pay attention to Miss Qing. The night in the villa area was quiet. Most of the villas were already dark. Only a few villas in the distance still had lights on. Looking at everything in front of him, Xiaoqin had a feeling that it was a lifetime ago. From being kicked out of the Xiao family to becoming a cultivator, and then to becoming Miss Qing's male servant. All of this seemed to be very long, but it was only 2 days. Originally, he thought that it would be easy to transfer to a new school, keep a low profile, cultivate slowly, and investigate the mastermind behind the scenes. However, he didn't expect that he would become enemies with the Lu family's children on the first day of transfer. However, Xiaoqin wasn't afraid. In the words of the elder heaven ancestor, why would a cultivator be afraid of others? It was others who were afraid of cultivators. Unknowingly, Xiaoqin suddenly heard a uniform snoring sound in his ears. He turned his head and found that Miss Qing had actually fallen asleep. Miss Qing was lying on the bench on the side of the road and fell asleep. On Qing Minjing's delicate face, there were 2 shallow dimples. With a quiet smile, Xiaoqin was a little lost in thought. This was Xiaoqin's first time interacting with the eldest miss at such a close distance. He suddenly realized that the eldest miss was really very beautiful and adorable. In the past, his gaze was always on Lin Ke and Xin Jingxian, but he had neglected the eldest Mississippi. Of course, that was just Xiaoqin's survival strategy, but at this moment Xiaoqin was really a little moved. He took off his school uniform and covered Miss Qing's body. The night wind was very cold. Xiaoqin was afraid that Miss Qing would catch a cold, but he didn't care. Ever since he became a cultivator at the first level of the refinement stage, Xiaoqin found that his physique was obviously much better than before. In fact, Xiaoqin wanted to carry Miss Qing back, but he thought that she was no longer his fiancée. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. What if Miss Qing woke up tomorrow and flipped out? Therefore, Xiaoqin decided to accompany Miss Qing here. As for Xiaoqin, he was cultivating no matter where he was. It was the same even if he was on the bench. Xiaoqin, are you tempted? Elder Heaven Ancestor's wretched voice sounded in Xiaoqin's ear. So what if I'm tempted? Now she is no longer my fiancée. Xiao Qin said with a bitter smile. You have no ambition. Don't forget what you are now. You are a cultivator, an extremely powerful cultivator. Do you still care about this? Elder Heaven Ancestor said resentfully. Hee. Xiao Qin smiled and didn't say anything. He directly operated the Heaven's stolen fortune battle art in his body and started cultivating. In the anorectal ward of the First People's Hospital of Songning City, Ma Gangmin was lying on the hospital bed. His whole body was trembling. His anus was almost kicked by Xiao Qin. He had just received 2 stitches, but after the anesthesia wore off, what followed was a heart-wrenching pain. Gangmin, how are you? Are you okay? Lu Zhiming asked Ma Gangmin, who had just finished the surgery, with a gloomy face. Brother Ming, I'm fine. I'm fine. Ma Gangmin said with a pale face. Brother Ming, we can't just let this go. Gangmin was beaten like this. We have to avenge him. Skinny Monkey-like said while gritting his teeth. Damn, I made a mistake today. This kid is not a warrior, but he has some brute force. It would be great if I made a move today. Lu Zhiming was very confident in his own strength. However, if I want to make a move now, I'm afraid it won't be easy. Jing Xiaoquan, that kid will definitely keep an eye on us. At least in a short period of time, we can't use this as an excuse to deal with Xiao Qin. Are we just going to let that kid go? Skinny Monkey-like was unwilling. Let go? Lu Zhiming said gloomily. How can we let him go? We can't make a move, but we can find someone to do it. Don't forget what my family does. We can just find a few punks. Won't he be killed? That's true. However, if we use the people of the Lu family gang, will it be discovered by Jing Xiaoquan? Skinny Monkey-like's brain was better, and he immediately found something wrong. What you said makes sense. If Jing Xiaoquan finds out about this, that guy will definitely not let it go. Lu Zhiming nodded. We are people of the underworld. We also have to abide by the rules of the underworld. If he has something on us, we won't be able to live with our face. In this way, I'll see if I can hire a few outsiders to do it. And that's the best. Even if someone dies, we can push the blame away. Skinny Monkey-like agreed. Lu Zhiming nodded, and a hint of viciousness flashed in his eyes. Skinny Monkey-like's words reminded him that if Lu Zhiming just wanted to teach Xiao Qin a lesson before, then now, Lu Zhiming already wanted to kill Xiao Qin. Although only a few people knew about today's incident, as long as he saw Xiao Qin, Lu Zhiming couldn't help but think of what happened in the stadium tonight. Only when Xiao Qin disappeared from his sight could he swallow this anger. Growing up in the underworld, Lu Zhiming was a little more sinister and ruthless than the other children of aristocratic families. Killing people was just a common occurrence for him. It was just that when he was in school, due to the school rules, he had never killed anyone. At most, he had seriously injured them, and all of this, under Lei Dianfeng's ingenious cover, did not come to light. After a moment of contemplation, Lu Zhiming took out his mobile phone and dialed Lei Dianfeng's phone number. Young Master Ming, the stadium has been cleaned up. Today, who was blind and went to the hospital. Lei Dianfeng had just cleaned the stadium. When he saw the pool of blood on the ground, he asked with some schadenfreude. Today's beating was quite fierce. There was so much blood. This person should at least go to the hospital. D*MN, don't mention it. The one who went to the hospital was Ma Gangmin. Lu Zhiming said in a bad tone. Today he was defeated by a country bumpkin. Lei Dianfeng was stunned, and he was a little stunned. He knew the strength of Lu Zhiming. Although not as good as him, he wasn't weak either. How could he be defeated by a country bumpkin? Isn't it unscientific? However, Lei Dianfeng still asked nervously, Young Master Ming, are you okay? If something happened to Lu Zhiming, Lei Dianfeng wouldn't be able to explain it. The meaning of his existence in this school was to take care of Lu Zhiming. If something happened to Lu Zhiming, he wouldn't be far from being laid off and going home. I'm fine. I didn't do anything. If I did, the one lying in the hospital would be the country bumpkin. Lu Zhiming was very confident in his skills. I was careless before. I thought that Ma Gangmin was enough to deal with a country bumpkin, so I let them fight one-on-one. I didn't know that the country bumpkin was born with divine strength. He didn't have internal energy at all, but he beat Ma Gangmin until he couldn't fight back. I'm really angry. I see. Lei Dianfeng was relieved after listening. Young Master Ming, you tell me. What should we do next? Teacher Lei, I want to kill him. Lu Zhiming said fiercely. Kill him. Lei Dianfeng frowned and said carefully, Young Master Ming, no matter what, this person is a student of the school. Now he just had a conflict with you and he died. If you are suspected, of course, it won't be our people who do it. Lu Zhiming said, Teacher Lei, you often play underground boxing. You should know a lot of wanted criminals from other provinces, right? Money makes the world go round. It's not like you don't know this. Okay, young Master Ming, I know what to do. After Lei Dianfeng heard it, he suddenly realized that Lu Jinming was smart. If it was done by the wanted criminals from other provinces, then it couldn't be linked to me and Lu Jinming. At the same time, in a private room of a bar near First High School, Chao Yuliang was clinking glasses with Chen Jinpeng with a gloomy face. Cheng Minjing transferred to another school and Xiao Qin is her servant? Chen Jinpeng felt a little unbelievable. Where did this news come from? Chapter 33. Don't worry about where the news came from. It must be accurate. Chao Yuliang gulped down a glass of wine. He was furious. Xiao Qin is really lucky. He actually became Cheng Minjing's valet. Isn't this giving them a chance to grow in love with each other? Chao Yuliang didn't understand. Why did the Qing family agree to this kind of thing? Aren't the Qing family afraid of something happening? Brother Liang, I think you are a little too worried. Chen Jinpeng shook his head and said, Brother Liang, think about it. Cheng Minjing was Xiao Qin's fiancée in the beginning, and nothing happened between them. Now Xiao Qin has been driven out of the Xiao family, and the engagement has been broken off. It's impossible for Cheng Minjing to fall in love with a waste like Xiao Qin. I think the Qing family just wants to humiliate Xiao Qin. Chao Yuliang nodded. It wasn't that he didn't think about what Chen Jinpeng said, but he was a little uneasy in his heart. He really liked Cheng Minjing. Although it was also mixed with interest, he had to say that Cheng Minjing was the first woman who made Chao Yuliang fall in love with. There is definitely no problem with Cheng Minjing, but I'm afraid that Xiao Qin will become a beast. Forget it. Does he dare? Chen Jinpeng said disdainfully. Does he think he is still the former Xiao Qin? Since he can compromise in front of Qing Zhongming and choose to lower his head, it means that he has admitted his defeat. Besides, the love between a young lady and a follower is just a plot in novels. You and I are both from big families. Which family's children marry a servant or marry a servant? That's true. Chao Yuliang nodded in agreement. That's true. Do you think that Xiao Qin is Guru Lin in School Bell's bodyguard? He is a cultivator who can practice the art of dragon mastery. Cultivators are such a high-end and powerful profession. What does Xiao Qin know? How can a waste who can't even practice inner force get the favor of Cheng Minjing? Chen Jinpeng comforted him. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he felt that he spoke too much. That Brother Liang, I mean Xiao Qin waste, not you. It's okay. Although I can't practice inner force, I am much stronger than Xiao Qin. Chao Yuliang waved his hand. He wasn't angry at this topic at all. Instead, he nodded and agreed. You're right. I was thinking too much. It is impossible for Cheng Minjing to like that waste, Xiao Qin. Yes, Brother Liang, let me toast to you. Chen Jinpeng raised his glass to Chao Yuliang. Okay, cheers. Although Chao Yuliang said so, an imperceptible cold light flashed in his eyes. The primordial qi was circulating in Xiao Qin's body. With each circulation, the primordial qi in Xiao Qin's body became thicker. Although Xiao Qin didn't feel anything, Elder Heaven Ancestor was very surprised. I say, Xiao Qin, something is wrong. Elder Heaven Ancestor's sudden movement scared Xiao Qin, so he quickly asked, What is it now? Your primordial qi is increasing too fast, isn't it? With each circulation it increases. This shouldn't be the case. Elder Heaven Ancestor was puzzled. Logically speaking, this was an urban area. Although it was a villa area with better greenery and environment, it was far from the kind of cultivation paradise. Moreover, even in the cultivation paradise, Elder Heaven Ancestor had never heard of anyone who could practice so fast. What's wrong with that? Xiao Qin said. Wasn't it good to be fast? What he desired the most now was strength. If possible, he wanted to become a master of stage 7 or stage 8 inner force in one fell swoop. I haven't discovered it yet, but this phenomenon looks good on the surface. If we don't figure it out, who knows what will happen in the future? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice was a little hesitant. It didn't seem like he was joking with Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin's heart was slightly shocked. Yes, although he hadn't come into contact with the profession of immortal cultivator, he had seen some similar novels or TV shows before. Generally, the evil cultivators or devil cultivators in those novels had a very fast cultivation speed, but the drawbacks were also very big. In the early stage there was no problem, but in the later stage there would be backlashes or inner demons. In short, there would be trouble. Then what did you discover? Xiao Qin asked. Not yet, Elder Heaven Ancestor said. How about? I stop practicing for now? Wait until you discover the problem? Xiaochen was a little hesitant now. He didn't dare to joke around with his life and future. If you stop, how can I observe? Elder Heaven Ancestor said impatiently. Who told you to cultivate to the point of falling? Forget it, you continue. I don't see anything wrong with it for the time being. If there is, I will remind you. Okay. Xiaochen actually didn't want to stop. After listening to Elder Heaven Ancestor, he also relaxed and prepared to continue practicing the mantra. However, before Xiaochen could practice, Xiaochen felt a soft and delicate body leaning on him directly. Xiaochen opened his eyes subconsciously and saw that Miss Cheng had actually fallen on him, and her head was resting on his lap. This feeling was like an intimate couple, which made Xiaochen's heart beat slightly faster. Although he also knew that Cheng Minjing had fallen asleep, maybe because the back of the seat was not very comfortable, so she subconsciously lay down. It wasn't her intention, but Xiaochen couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. Xiaochen wasn't some righteous gentleman, but he wouldn't take advantage of others when they were down. Young Miss was willing to help him when he was in danger, so why would he do anything inappropriate to her? However, Xiaochen wanted to help Miss Cheng up, but he was afraid of waking her up. After thinking for a long time, Xiaochen decided to continue practicing. If he calmed down and didn't think about these things, he would naturally have a clear conscience. Xiaochen's concentration was still abnormally strong. Soon, Xiaochen entered the state of cultivation again and continued to practice the Heaven's Fortune battle art. When the first ray of sunlight shone on the ground in the morning, Xiaochen also faintly touched the barrier of the second level of the Qi refinement stage. This kind of cultivation speed made Elder Heaven Ancestor speechless. It was simply incredible, although Elder Heaven Ancestor couldn't be considered a human now. In the early morning, the originally quiet corridor of the villa area began to have cars passing by from time to time. Of course, almost no one paid attention to Xiaochen and Cheng Minjing on the bench. After all, in this day and age, lovers on the bench on the street were really not good to look at. A red beetle passed by in front of Xiaochen's eyes, but it didn't go far before it reversed and stopped in front of Xiaochen. The window of the beetle also slowly opened, revealing a shocked little face inside. Sister Yingying? Xiaochen? The girl in the beetle opened the door and looked at the unbelievable scene in front of her in astonishment. What are you doing? Xiaochen was a bit embarrassed. He didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here. It was Jin Beibei Zhu Yingxiong's cousin and also Cheng Minjing's cousin. She was a petite girl, but her huge breasts made her look uncoordinated. There was only one word that could describe her, namely, a childish face with huge breasts. Xiaochen didn't know much about Jin Beibei. Although the little princess of the Jin family was Zhu Yingxiong's cousin and also Cheng Minjing's cousin, in fact, the 9 generations of families were more or less related by marriage, which could only last for 1 generation or even several years. Therefore, even if the descendants of the families were more or less related to each other, the relationship could be ignored. However, in Xiaochen's impression, Cheng Minjing and Jin Beibei had always been close. It was just that Xiaochen didn't have much contact with them. Cheng Minjing was sleeping soundly when she was woken up by Jin Beibei's exclamation. She opened her eyes in confusion, but she didn't raise her head from Xiaochen's leg immediately. Instead, she tilted her head, trying to see who was calling her. Holy *T. I didn't see anything. Jin Beibei was startled by Cheng Minjing's appearance. She covered her eyes with her hands in amazement. Sister Minjing, you are too open-minded. You gave Xiaochen a J on the street. But I didn't see anything. Cheng Minjing had just woken up. 2 streams of saliva were still on the corners of her mouth. Coincidentally, Xiaochen had covered Cheng Minjing's body with his school uniform, fearing that Cheng Minjing might feel cold. Therefore, Xiaochen's leg was also covered by the school uniform at this moment. Such a scene would certainly make one's imagination run wild. After all, a lot of videos on the internet were similar to this, in which a girl covered her leg with a school uniform and started to do it. What? J. Cheng Minjing was immediately woken up from her drowsiness. She suddenly discovered that she had fallen asleep on Xiaochen's leg. Coincidentally, there was still saliva on the corners of her mouth. It would be strange if she was not misunderstood. Cheng Minjing immediately grew anxious. How could she give that to Xiaochen? Even if she was Xiaochen's fiancée in the past, it was still impossible. Subconsciously, she tore off the school uniform that covered her and Xiaochen's leg, as if she wanted to prove to Jin Beibei that she did not give that to Xiaochen. However, although the school uniform had been torn off, Xiaochen's crotch was a pillar that could reach the sky. Xiaochen was a normal man. It was hard for him to stay calm when his mistress was lying on his leg. Also, it was early in the morning and Xiao Chen had not gone to pee yet. Therefore, it was a normal physiological phenomenon. However, it was different in Jean Bei's eyes. She believed that Xiao Chen must have fastened the zipper in a hurry, but the tool of crime betrayed him. Sister Menjing is trying to cover it up. Alright, Bei didn't see anything. Jean Bei smiled cunningly as if she knew what was going on. Cheng Menjing was so furious that she stood up from the chair and glared at Xiao Chen. What did you do to me? Chapter 34. Didn't you want to rest yesterday? But you fell asleep after resting for a while. Then you lay on my lap. I didn't want to disturb your sleep, so I didn't wake you up. Xiao Chen explained with a bitter smile. Then why did you? Cheng Menjing thought for a while and realized that it was indeed the case. She was tired from walking yesterday and wanted to rest on the bench by the road for a while. Then she didn't know anything. It seemed that she had fallen asleep. However, Cheng Menjing glanced at Xiao Chen's crotch. Raising her eyebrow, she snorted. You didn't want to disturb me? Do you dare to say that you don't have dirty thoughts? It's normal for me. It's called morning erection. Xiao Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Alright, I should wake you up next time and take you home. At this moment, Jean Bei finally understood what was going on. However, her big, cunning eyes kept glancing at Xiao Chen's legs. She mumbled to herself, why is it so big? It seems to be different from the size in the textbook. Luckily, Sister Menjing, you broke off the engagement. Otherwise, I would have ked you to death. In the beginning, Cheng Menjing did not understand what Jean Bei was talking about. Why was it so big and different from the size in the textbook? However, Cheng Menjing glared at Jean Bei angrily when she heard the latter part of her words and saw where Jean Bei was looking at. She said angrily, Bei, why are your thoughts so complicated? You think about all kinds of dirty things every day. Are you blaming it on me because you want to ck me? Of course not. But I can try it if I have the chance. I tried the banana myself. There is nothing special. It's just like the popsicles I ate when I was little. Jean Bei mumbled. You. Cheng Menjing was somewhat speechless about Jean Bei. However, she suddenly remembered that Xiao Chen was still standing nearby. Recalling that she had ked him just now, she immediately blushed and coughed. Looking at Xiao Chen, she asked, Hey, what did you hear? Xiao Chen was dazed. What did you say? Humph, at least you're sensible. Cheng Menjing nodded in self-deception. Ignoring Xiao Chen, she turned around and looked at Jean Bei. Bei, why are you here so early in the morning? Uncle said that you transferred to number 2 senior high school. Why didn't I see you yesterday? So this morning, I plan to go to school with you. Speaking of this, Jean Bei looked at Cheng Menjing with a strange expression. Cousin Menjing, you're so weird. You actually hooked up with Xiao Chen secretly? Didn't you hate him the most before? Don't talk nonsense. If you say anything else, I'll tell Auntie about you eating bananas. Let's see how she deals with you. Cheng Menjing said angrily, He's just a servant of mine. If I want to sleep, he has to become a bed. If I want to eat, he has to become a table. Holy sh*t Xiao Chen's brother-in-law is a transformer? Jean Bei exclaimed in surprise. Xiao Chen was speechless as he looked at Jean Bei's innocent look. However, if she really thought that she was innocent, then she would be screwed. Since she was young, the profligate young masters who were deceived by her innocent look and wanted to hook up with her were all unlucky. They were tricked by her until they hovered between life and death. Therefore, Xiao Chen decided to stay away from the little witch in case he got into trouble. Before, he was the young master of the Xiao family. If he did not mess with the little witch, he would not have been afraid of her revenge. But it was different now. He was Cheng Menjing's servant. If the girl did not like him and played tricks on him, it would be an unexpected disaster. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? What brother-in-law? Don't call me that. Hearing how Jean Bei addressed Xiao Chen, Cheng Menjing was startled. I told you that I have nothing to do with him. Jean Bei nodded and continued, Oh, Xiao Chen's ex-brother-in-law. Nice to meet you. Cheng Menjing did not bother to correct her. As for Xiao Chen, he had a weird feeling when Jean Bei called him brother-in-law. Cheng Menjing pointed at the back seat of the Beetle and asked, Alright Xiao Chen, I'm going to school with Bei. Do you want to sit in the back seat or do you want to go to school by yourself? Looking at the narrow space in the back seat of the Beetle, Xiao Chen could not help but smile bitterly. I'll take a taxi by myself. But you have to reimburse me. Not yet. Cheng Menjing said without thinking. How could she not know that Xin Jingxian had just given 10,000 to Xiaochen? Then I'd better squeeze in, Xiaochen said and prepared to get on the car. Stingy. Consider it a reward from me. Cheng Menjing intended to whisper to Jean Beibei in secret, but she did not want Xiaochen to hear it. Otherwise, Jean Beibei might talk too much and she might even say some dirty words which would be too embarrassing. Therefore, Cheng Menjing could only take out her wallet and give a 100 yuan bill to Xiaochen. Is it enough for school? Yes. Xiaochen nodded. The taxi he took from school yesterday only cost more than 30 yuan. Beibei, let's go. Cheng Menjing opened the door of the passenger's seat and got on the car with Jean Beibei. Watching Cheng Menjing and Jean Beibei leave, Xiaochen put the 100 yuan into his pocket and walked to the bus stop. Xiaochen was not a real young master. He was well aware of his situation. Most importantly, the job did not pay him. The 10,000 yuan had to be used sparingly. Cousin Menjing, have you really asked Xiaochen's brother-in-law to be your servant? Jean Beibei asked while driving. Not brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law? No, not ex-brother-in-law either. He's just my ex-fiancé. Damn you, Beibei, I've been fooled by you. Cheng Menjing was rather angry. You know that, although I hate him, he is quite pitiful. My grandfather vented his anger on the Xiao family because of my uncle. Somebody had to take the blame, didn't he? That person could only be Uncle Zhao's son. In order for him to survive, my father asked him to be my servant. Uncle, are you not scared that you will fall in love with each other after a long time? Jean Beibei asked cunningly. How is it possible? I will never fall in love with him. Cheng Menjing blushed, but she said without hesitation, what I like is a real hero. He is just a useless person. However, Cheng Menjing had to admit that she had misjudged Xiaochen. From the match between Xiaochen and Ma Gangmen the day before, she could tell that, although Xiaochen had not reached the first level of internal force, his physical strength had already reached the limits as an ordinary person. Had it not been for his natural-born body constitution, he would have been an expert of the first level of internal force a long time ago, or even higher. Other people might not know whether or not Xiaochen was born with extraordinary physical strength, but as Xiaochen's ex-fiancé, Cheng Menjing knew it very well. Xiaochen was not born with extraordinary physical strength, but he had also been weak and sickly since he was a child. The strength that he had today must have been through a lot of hardships. Cheng Menjing found it hard to imagine that a foppish young master like Xiaochen would go through hardships to train himself. However, she did not say that out loud. Oh, Cousin Menjing is blushing. Jean Beibei observed carefully. Drive carefully. I don't want to be hit to death, Cheng Menjing said. Jean Beibei stuck out her tongue and began to concentrate on driving. The villa area was not far from the number 2 middle school. Therefore, the car soon stopped at the gate of the school. Then, Cheng Menjing and Jean Beibei entered the school together. Lu Zhiming's expression was very gloomy. Ma Gangman's injuries were very serious, and he was still lying in the hospital. He didn't know if Lei Dianfeng had found the person who taught Xiaochen a lesson. In short, his mood was very gloomy. What should have been a good day to pick up girls turned into a day of tragedy. He would definitely make Xiaochen pay the price in blood. Although he had said to Jing Xiaoquan yesterday that he would let this matter go, he would definitely not let it go just like that. He would not make a move, but it did not mean that he would not secretly instruct others to do it. If Xiaochen was killed by a fugitive from another place, it could only mean that Xiaochen was unlucky, which had nothing to do with Lu Zhiming. Seeing that Cheng Menjing walked into the classroom with yogurt and bread in her hands, Lu Zhiming sprang up from his seat and jogged to Cheng Menjing with a big smile. Menjing, you're here. The yogurt and bread are nutritious but they don't taste good. How about I treat you to porridge in the cafeteria? Little Lu, you seem to be very rich. How about topping 100,000 yuan into my meal card? Jean Beibei, on the other hand, jumped out from behind Cheng Menjing with a big smile. The 2 papayas in front of her chest shivered too, making Lu Zhiming feel a bit dizzy. Lu Zhiming's eyelids twitched, but he did not dare to appreciate the beautiful view in front of him. Cold sweat popped up on his forehead. Oh, Jean Beibei, I don't have enough money with me today. Why don't we talk about it another day? Lu Zhiming knew Jean Beibei. The girl was also from the number 2 middle school. Although she was also the campus belle, Lu Zhiming had never thought about pursuing her. Whoever got close to such a little devil would be unlucky. It must be noted that Jean Beibei was the treasure of Grandpa Jean of the Jean family. Grandpa Jean was Gold Fur Lion, which was not a joke but a lunatic. 40 years ago, he made a name for himself in the martial world with his bare hands and established the Jean family's business. Lu Zhenming didn't want to be associated with this kind of person. If anyone dared to bully the little princess of the Jin family, the old man would directly go to the door and kill them. He would really dare to fight you to the death. It was true that there were open competitions and secret competitions among the families, but none of the families could compete with another family with everything they had. Such a self-destructive way of fighting was only harming others without benefiting oneself. However, Grandpa Jin was bold enough to do that. There was once a young master of an ancient warrior family in another province who fell in love with Jin Beibei and intended to force himself on her. As a result, Grandpa Jin slashed the young master into halves. The ancient warrior family in another province was infuriated. The leader of the family demanded the Jin family to hand over Jin Beibei and have a ghost marriage with the dead young master. However, Grandpa Jin did not do that. He simply marched to the family's door with a giant saber and told the leader of the ancient warrior family, "If you want to fight, let's fight. The Jin family is not as strong as you, but we can still cripple your family with everything we have." Chapter 35. Old Master Jin was one of those who did not care about his life. That family inquired about what had happened to the Jin family over the years and immediately gave up. Not only did they apologize to Old Master Jin, saying that it was a misunderstanding, but they also gave Jin Beibei a car as compensation. However, Jin Beibei threw the car into the garage. She still liked this beetle. She felt that a girl driving a beetle was more adorable. Although she only looked adorable, her personality was not adorable at all. After all, the deceased playboy was merely a collateral relative. It was unnecessary for the ancient warrior family to fight each other to the death for a collateral relative. Old Master Jin was a lunatic, but he was not. Therefore, the head of the family blamed the parents of the collateral relative for not educating their children well and took back all the properties of the family that they were in charge of. As a result, Jin Beibei's nickname of Little Witch became more and more exaggerated. Lu Zhenming did not think that his family was more powerful than the ancient warrior family. The Lu family was in the middle of recuperating and growing. If they pissed off the Jin family, they would be screwed. "You invited cousin Menjing to dinner just now. So you were lying to us?" Jin Beibei, however, looked at Lu Zhenming unhappily. Startled, Lu Zhenming hurried to explain, "Well, I don't need 100,000 for dinner. I mean, I don't have 100,000, but I do have enough for breakfast." "Oh, give it to me then." Jin Beibei reached out her chubby little hand that had some baby fat. Lu Zhenming secretly cursed his bad luck, but he had to take out his meal card and give it to Jin Beibei. "There are 7 or 8,000 in here. It's definitely enough for breakfast." "All right. Got it. I'll take it." Jin Beibei put the meal card into her pocket with a smile. "You can go now. However, you still owe me 93,000. The first half of Jin Beibei's words made Lu Zhenming feel relieved, but the second half almost made him stagger and fall to the ground. "Is this a scam? I just said hello to you, and you owe me more than 90,000 out of the blue." Cheng Menjing couldn't help but laugh when she saw Lu Zhenming being humiliated in front of Jin Beibei. However, when Lu Zhenming heard Cheng Menjing smile, he thought that he had succeeded in making the beauty smile. That 100,000 yuan could only be spent. In the past, there were beacons that teased the feudal lords. The purpose was to win the smile of a beauty. He didn't even need to set a fire. Just spending 100,000 yuan was worth it. Thinking of this, Lu Zhenming felt much better. When he returned to his seat, he was no longer depressed. Instead, he immediately called his father, Lu Zhenming. "Zhenming, you're not studying properly at school. Why are you calling your mom?" Lu Siwen was collecting the bills in the field. When he picked up Lu Zhenming's call, he was a little unhappy. Although his name was Lu Siwen, his words and actions were not polite at all. However, he couldn't change it, so he hoped that Lu Zhenming could be successful. "Well, Dad, I want to apply for a sum of money to pick up a girl." Yesterday, Xiaoqin cheated Lu Zhenming of more than 200,000 yuan. Today, Jin Beibei cheated him of 100,000 yuan. He was so short of money that he had to turn to Lu Siwen for help. "Pick up a girl? You're not studying properly at school. Why are you picking up a girl?" Lu Siwen was angry. "I sent you to school to study. How dare you pick up a girl?" "Well, Dad, don't be angry. Let me finish." Lu Zhenming's forehead was covered with cold sweat. "Dad, this time I'm not picking up an ordinary girl. She's a high class, F***CKU. What high class are you picking up? Study hard." Lu Siwen said angrily. "Dad, calm down. I plan to marry this girl. She is Cheng Menjing from the Cheng family. She is the one who broke off the engagement with the Xiao family." Lu Zhenming was afraid that Lu Siwen would hang up, so he hurried to explain. Although Lu Siwen hoped that his son would be successful, he was not a fool. Otherwise, he would not have cooperated with old Master Lu to make the Lu family a well-known family. When he heard that the girl Lu Jinming was going after was Cheng Menjing, he was immediately interested. Are you sure? I can't say 100%, but I'm 50% sure. Because I found that Cheng Menjing seems to like violent boys. Moreover, she also plays with Jean Beibei, a domineering girl. I think she likes to bully people, and bullying is our strength. Lu Jinming analyzed. Okay, how much do you want? Lu Siwen did not intervene this time. If Lu Jinming could really get the young lady of the Cheng family, the Lu family and the Cheng family would be in-laws. They could not get help from the Cheng family forever, but at least the Lu family would be more successful in the next few years. Can you give me 1 million yuan first? Lu Jinming asked tentatively. Okay, I will ask someone to transfer the money to your card later. Lu Siwen did not hesitate this time and said directly. Lu Jinming suddenly felt a little regretful. Seeing that Lu Siwen agreed to his request without hesitation, it would have been better if he had asked for 2 million yuan. Jean Beibei was not from Class 1, Grade 3. However, even if the school leaders saw her sitting next to Cheng Menjing, they would not say anything. The Shen family was not willing to offend the Jean family because of such a trivial matter. However, Lu Jinming was a little unhappy. With such a little devil following Cheng Menjing, it simply made it more difficult for him to pursue her. If he did not know Jean Beibei's character, Lu Jinming would be very happy to have her. With such a big-breasted girl by Cheng Menjing's side, it would be very refreshing to have a threesome with her. However, it was obviously impossible. Unless Lu Jinming was out of his mind, he would not have such a ridiculous idea. Why hasn't Xiao Chen come yet? Miss Cheng looked at the time on her watch. It had been half an hour, but Xiao Chen had not come yet. Can this guy get lost in a taxi? Cousin Menjing, are you worried about my brother-in-law? Jean Beibei was drinking papaya-flavored yogurt. Drink your papaya milk. Your breasts are almost as big as a football. Why are you still drinking? Cheng Menjing naturally would not admit that she was worried about Xiao Chen. She was just afraid that Xiao Chen would get lost. Cousin Menjing is jealous and envious. Jean Beibei, however, intentionally puffed out her chest. If you don't believe me, you can ask my brother-in-law. Does he prefer my breasts or Cousin Menjing's? Who's a flat-chested girl? I'm not small either. I have a B-cup bra. Cheng Menjing did not want to be outdone. Only a B-cup. I was a C-cup when I was 10, Jean Beibei said. Sooner or later, you will have to hold it with your hands when you go out. Cheng Menjing was defeated. To be honest, she was indeed jealous and envious. That's fine. You have a servant anyway. Just ask him to hold it for you. Jean Beibei said unconcernedly, right, Cousin Menjing, you won't be jealous because my brother-in-law holds my breasts, will you? It has nothing to do with me even if he dies. Cheng Menjing said. However, Beibei, do you know that men and women should not touch each other? You asked him to help you? I was just joking. Jean Beibei was really joking. Who would hold their breasts when they go out? However, she looked at her own size and then at the papaya yogurt in her hand. She was really afraid that such a day would come. Therefore, she directly switched her papaya yogurt with Cheng Menjing's original yogurt. Let's switch. Cheng Menjing did not say anything. Anyway, she did not mind Jean Beibei taking a sip. In fact, she had wanted to buy papaya yogurt before, but she was too embarrassed to let Jean Beibei think that she wanted to enlarge her breasts. Therefore, she bought the original yogurt. Therefore, the switch was exactly what she wanted. This was the first time for Xiao Chen to take a bus. The smell on the bus was really not flattering, especially the smell of chives, meat buns, and all kinds of food. However, the smell of the youtiao in the hand of a beautiful girl was quite tempting, which made Xiao Chen feel hungry. However, the place where Xiao Chen got on the bus was outside the villa area. Naturally, there would not be such a breakfast place like the morning market. As for those places named Superb Kanji Shop, which looked very domineering, Xiao Chen had no desire to go in at all. A meal there would cost hundreds of yuan. Xiao Chen had no money. When he got off the bus, Xiao Chen suddenly found that Tang Tang happened to walk over from another direction with a bag of youtiao and white soybean milk in her hand. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up, almost glowing with greed. Tang Tang. Xiao Chen waved at Tang Tang. Tang Tang looked up and saw that Xiao Chen got off the bus and did not come with Cheng Menjing. She was a little surprised. From the way they walked together after school yesterday, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing should go to school together. Why did Xiao Chen come by bus alone? However, Tang Tang somewhat admired Xiao Chen's adaptability. He could even squeeze into the bus? But thinking of the way Xiao Chen wolfed down the steamed buns yesterday, Tang Tang knew that Xiao Chen's nature was still good. At least he was not too affected by the habits of a playboy. You haven't had breakfast yet, right? I brought you youtiao and soybean milk. Go to the classroom to eat. Tang Tang shook the bag in her hand and said to Xiao Chen. Thank you. Xiao Chen grinned. He wanted to bear it and eat at noon. He did not expect Tang Tang to bring breakfast. You're so generous. I let you spend money. It's nothing. Tang Tang waved her hand indifferently. It's self-produced and self-marketed. There is no cost. By the way, why did you come by bus? Where's Qing Menjing? Xiao Chen was about to ask what self-produced and self-marketed meant, but he was interrupted by Tang Tang. So he did not ask. Instead he said, she and Jean Bebe drove here. I took the bus. They drove? Tang Tang was a little indignant. Isn't it too much? Even if you are her servant, you don't have to treat her like this. You are not the only one in the bus. Take a bus or take a taxi. I chose to take a taxi. I earned 100 yuan in fare. It's worth it. Xiao Chen explained with a smile. The young lady was still very kind. Although she was a little arrogant, she was not bad in nature. So Xiao Chen helped her to explain. That's more like it. Then you will have to pay 100 yuan every day. This month you will earn a lot. Tang Tang nodded after listening. Since you are so rich, lunch is on you. Chapter 36. Okay, I'll treat you to a buffet, a roadside noodle shop. There are enough steamed buns and rolls. Xiao Chen said. Puff. Tang Tang was quite happy when she heard the first half of Xiao Chen's words. When she heard the second half, she laughed directly. How much can a noodle shop cost? However, she was not a picky person. She knew that it was not easy for Xiao Chen to save a little money, so she did not exploit him. That's a deal. Tang Tang and Xiao Chen walked into the classroom together talking and laughing. Qing Menjing frowned. Did Xiao Chen come so late to find Tang Tang? Thinking that Xiao Chen took the money she gave him to find someone else, Miss Qing was unhappy for a while. What kind of person is he? Tomorrow I will buy a car and let you be my driver. Let's see if you still go to find Tang Tang. Miss Cheng's anger also had a reason. You used to be the young master of the Xiao family. You pursued Xinjing Xian and Ke Lin. That was fine. But now you are not. You are my exclusive servant. You don't please me. You are around me and you even hook up with Tang Tang? Although it was difficult to be jealous of Tang Tang's current appearance, Miss Cheng had seen the former Tang Tang. In the final analysis, it was Miss Cheng's under a disease. Zheng Xiaoquan also saw Xiao Chen and Tang Tang entering the door together. There was a flash of astonishment in his eyes. But when he saw the youtiao and soybean milk in Tang Tang's hands, he immediately showed a greedy expression. Tang Tang, is there a share for me? Of course, you and Xiao Chen both. Tang Tang put the youtiao and soybean milk on the table and said, eat it while it's hot. It's not a waste for me to come here. But how can I run without losing weight? That's not bad. If you become a slender beauty, I won't even dare to eat your food, Xiao Chen said with a smile. This sentence wasn't loud, but it was heard by Qing Menjing, who wasn't far away. She clenched her fists in anger. So you're ignoring me because I'm too beautiful? But it's not right. This guy used to pursue Ke Lin and Xinjing Xian. Yes, he must be deceiving Tang Tang. I must find a chance to expose you. Zheng Xiaoquan had breakfast in the morning, so he couldn't eat more after eating half a fried dough stick and a bag of soy milk. Xiao Chen, on the other hand, ate all the rest, which stunned Tang Tang and Zheng Xiaoquan. Dude, you have such a good appetite? Zheng Xiaoquan said in amazement. Ordinary people could not eat so much for breakfast, but Xiao Chen was simply a glutton. Xiao Chen was also a little embarrassed. He could not eat these in the past, but since he began to cultivate, his appetite had increased greatly. However, this could not be explained, so he could only say, yes, at noon yesterday I ate 4 or 5 steamed buns from Tang Tang, but I was not full. I also ate a big meal from Lu Jinming. Awesome. Zheng Xiaoquan had to say the word, awesome. He could eat too much. However, Tang Tang felt that there was nothing wrong with Xiao Chen's big appetite. In her opinion, boys should eat ravenously like Yu Xiaochuan, who ate shyly and pretended to be serious, which made Tang Tang feel very hypocritical. Looking at Xiao Chen, who was ravenously eating over there, Lu Jinming's eyes flashed a touch of malice. Eat, eat, eat. I will let you be proud for a while. Tonight, I will let you die without a burial place. Just now, Lei Dianfeng had sent a text message that the fugitives were in place. They could take action to kill Xiao Chen in the evening, which made Lu Jinming's originally gloomy mood a lot better. The morning passed by quickly. What surprised Xiao Chen was that Lu Jinming really didn't find trouble with him anymore. It was as if yesterday's matter had already passed. Xiao Chen was also a playboy before, so he had some understanding of the thoughts of these playboys. Yesterday he suffered such a big loss. If Xiao Chen said to let it go, it was really hard to believe. If he was a gentleman it would be fine, but Lu Jinming was obviously not. He was not even a hypocrite, so Xiao Chen felt that Lu Jinming would definitely not give up, but he was temporarily enduring. However, since Lu Jinming did not trouble Xiao Chen was naturally happy to be at ease. At noon, Jing Xiaoquan turned his head and looked at Xiao Chen. I heard from Tang Tang that you will treat us at noon and take us to a buffet? Tang Tang told Jing Xiaoquan that Xiao Chen would treat them to a buffet, but she did not say what to eat, so Jing Xiaoquan was a little excited. Although Jing Xiaoquan's family was not ordinary, to be honest, the Jing family was a martial arts family. Usually the family education was relatively strict. Jing Xiaoquan's food and use were all in the martial arts club. He rarely had pocket money, and he usually could not eat any delicacies. Otherwise, he would not be so excited when he saw the bag of abalones that Xiao Chen brought back yesterday. Well, let's go together? Xiao Chen asked with a smile. Okay, I'd be a fool not to take advantage of it, Jing Xiaoquan said and walked out of the classroom with Xiao Chen and Tang Tang. It was hard for Qing Minjing to imagine how Xiao Chen, a young master who had lost his power, could win the favor of Tang Tang and Jing Xiaoquan. Tang Tang's situation was similar, but Jing Xiaoquan was different. Although the Zheng family was now forbearing, it had not been seriously damaged. The young master of the Zheng family stood up for Xiao Chen yesterday, which made Qing Minjing feel very strange. Two beautiful girls, I wonder if I have the honor to dine with you too? This time Lu Jinming learned to be smart. He did not say that he would treat them, but only asked if they had the honor to dine together. Qing Minjing looked at Lu Jinming, who was glued to her, and felt helpless. Suddenly, she realized that it was actually a good thing to have a nominal fiancé like Xiao Chen before. Although Chao Yuliang had expressed his love in the past, it was impossible for him to be so obvious. After all, at that time Xiao Chen was not easy to deal with. Although he did not care about his fiancée, someone pursued her in front of him. Xiao Chen must have rushed up with Qin Jinpeng and Zhu Yingxiong directly. Even Chao Yuliang did not dare to go too far because of this kind of thing. After all, there were rules among the children of the aristocratic families. It was okay to pursue a famous flower without an owner, but if you pursued someone else's fiancée blatantly, it was not only a provocation to the person, but also a provocation to the family involved. Therefore, after the Qing family broke off the engagement, Chao Yuliang began to court Qing Minjing. However, he did not expect that Qing Minjing would transfer to another school the next day. Sister Minjing, we do need a servant to serve tea and pour water when we dine together. Since little Lu said it was his honor, why don't we give him a chance? Jin Beibei looked at Lu Jinming with a malicious smile and said to Qing Minjing. Lu Jinming immediately shuddered. Damn it, why are you so mean, big-breasted girl? Dining together means eating at the same table. How could you arrange the role of a servant for me? However, Lu Jinming dared not say anything. After thinking about it, he felt that it was good enough to serve Qing Minjing. Others could not even serve him even if they wanted to. Forget it, Beibei. We don't need a servant. Qing Minjing slightly frowned and refused. Lu Jinming, you go ahead with your business. I have something private to discuss with Beibei. It's not good to have others around when we dine together. I see. Hearing Qing Minjing's words, Lu Jinming had to give up and walked out of the classroom with slim monkey-like. Cousin Minjing, why don't you let Lu Jinming be a servant? Jin Beibei asked. I lose my appetite just by looking at him. Not everyone can be a servant. Qing Minjing hated people like Lu Jinming very much. Although Xiao Chen used to be a foppish playboy, he did not extort or bully his new classmates. However, Lu Jinming was no longer a foppish playboy but a criminal. Unconsciously, Qing Minjing compared Xiao Chen with Lu Jinming. Even Qing Minjing was shocked when she thought of that. However, she realized that among all the foppish playboys around Qing Minjing, only Xiao Chen was slightly more normal. Damn Xiao Chen. He was kicked out of the family. Now I have no shield. That's true. Only brother-in-law Xiao Chen can be a servant, Jin Beibei said. Beibei, will you die if you don't mention Xiao Chen? Qing Minjing was even angrier when Xiao Chen was mentioned. You know that's not what I meant. When Zheng Xiaoquan sat in a noodle shop with a stunned expression, he pointed at a plate of steamed buns in front of him and said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, Xiao Chen, you brought us a kilometer and this is what we ate. Is this self-help? Yes, take it and eat as much as you want. I'll take care of it, Xiaoqun nodded and said. Oh my god, I was looking forward to it in vain. Jing Xiaoqun looked depressed. If I had known this, I would have gone home and eaten a boxed lunch. The Zheng family's martial arts club provided boxed lunch every day. Although Jing Xiaoqun was the young master of the Zheng family, he did not have any privileges in the martial arts club. All the martial artists and disciples ate boxed lunch, including Jing Xiaoqun. Alright, don't complain. There's ramen, right? Why don't you eat ramen? Tang Tang grabbed a steamed bun and ate it with the free pickles on the table. You look down on me. You all eat. I'm not special. Seeing that Tang Tang had eaten, Jing Xiaoqun also grabbed a steamed bun and ate it. Alright, I'll take it as I ate too much yesterday. Let's eat something light today. The three of them were full for the meal and it only cost Xiaoqun 10 yuan. They also bought a few more scallion pancakes to eat during the evening self-study. How much could the staple food cost if they ate more? On the way back, Jing Xiaoqun suddenly said, By the way, Xiaoqun, be careful. Lu Jinming is a bit sinister. I'm afraid that he won't let go of the matter of Mongang Gate. Although he promised to let it go yesterday, I'm afraid that he will settle the score later. Well, I know. I can see that too. Xiaoqun nodded in agreement. However, if he doesn't make a move, I can't take the initiative to find him. I can only wait passively. That's true. It's really hard to understand. Last night, Tang Tang and I analyzed it for a long time, but we couldn't figure out the reason. We can only say that Lu Jinming wants to bully the newcomer. Zheng Xiaoqun also couldn't figure out why Lu Jinming didn't like Xiaoqun. Hehe, I'm unlucky. Xiaoqun shrugged helplessly. Chapter 37. In an RV parked at the entrance of Songning City's No. 1 high school, a young man sat in the car with a gloomy face. Beside him was an unremarkable middle-aged man in a black coat. Young master, old master has asked me to assist you. The man in black said respectfully. Tonight Xiaoqun must die. The young man spat out these words lightly, then continued, Don't leave any evidence. Find a place where there is no one and do it quickly. Yes, young master. The man in black nodded. Okay, you go and prepare, I'll leave first. The young man didn't stop and directly got out of the car, but he was a little displeased as he muttered to himself. Xiaoqun, I didn't expect you to live after I pushed you off the cliff. This time let's see if you'll still die. As for the limousine, after the young man alighted from the car, it quietly drove towards Songning City No. 2 high school. Although the black-clothed man felt that there was no need for him, a martial artist at the pinnacle of level 3 inner strength, to kill a good-for-nothing with no inner strength, he naturally wouldn't say much since it was arranged by the old master. Isn't this Qin Jinping? Zhu Yingxiong's fat body suddenly blocked Qin Jinping's way. Zhu Yingxiong had long wanted to find an opportunity to scold Qin Jinping, but he couldn't catch his shadow. Now that he saw it, how could he let it go? Zhu Yingxiong, what are you doing? Qin Jinping frowned. He didn't expect to meet Zhu Yingxiong during lunch break. Although he was a level 2 internal energy martial artist and Zhu Yingxiong was just an ordinary person with less than level 1 internal energy, the Zhu family was no longer the Zhu family of the past. The Zhu family had that old master, so it could be said that the Zhu family's status was no less than the Xiao family's. Even if Zhu Yingxiong was a good-for-nothing, he could still do whatever he wanted in school, so Qin Jinping really didn't dare to hit him. Qin Jinping, I've always heard that there is a kind of person with a rebellious bone in the back of their head. I'm wondering where this rebellious bone is located. I want to open this kind of person's skull to see. What do you think? Zhu Yingxiong looked at Qin Jinping with a sinister smile. Don't mess around, this is school. Qin Jinping was really afraid that Zhu Yingxiong would go crazy. Zhu Yingxiong, don't be sarcastic. At this time, Chao Yuliang's voice suddenly sounded. Qin Jinping turned around and saw Chao Yuliang walking over. He immediately let out a sigh of relief. Brother Liang, this fatty is threatening me. Qin Jinping was emboldened. Alright, Zhu Yingxiong, Qin Jinping is abandoning the darkness for the light. Xiaoqun didn't say anything, so why are you making a fuss? The emperor is not anxious, but the eunuchs are anxious. Chao Yuliang said coldly. Count yourself lucky. Zhu Yingxiong saw that Chao Yuliang had come and knew that he couldn't teach Qin Jinping a lesson. He could only shake his fat body and walk away quickly. Xiaoqun spent the whole afternoon peacefully. When school was over, Xiaoqun didn't go to Cheng Menjing and Jin Beibei. After all, he had taken the taxi fare. Walking out of the classroom with Zheng Xiaoqun and Tang Tang, Xiaoqun was going to take the bus. But when he arrived at the bus stop, he found that there was a sea of people there. It seemed that everyone had left school together. Therefore Xiao Chen didn't plan to wait for the bus. He estimated that even if there was a bus, it would be difficult for him to get on it. If he had the time to wait for the next bus, he might have walked back. This morning Xiao Chen felt how crowded the bus was. He almost didn't get on it. Therefore Xiao Chen directly walked toward the villa. It didn't take long for Xiao Chen to go from noisy to quiet. Soon there was only Xiao Chen on the road. Especially the closer he was to the villa area, the fewer people there were. How many people were going to the villa area on foot? Those who walked like Xiao Chen were quite different. Someone was following him. Xiao Chen suddenly found that he was being followed. It had to be said that a cultivator's immense divine sense and mental strength were extraordinarily powerful. If it was the Xiao Chen of the past, he definitely wouldn't be able to sense that someone was following him. However, the current Xiao Chen didn't even need to deliberately sense it to be able to sense that someone was following him. However, Xiao Chen didn't know if this was based on the fact that the follower's strength wasn't very high. If the follower's strength was very high, would he still have this kind of feeling? That's right, your follower's strength isn't very high. If their strength was high, not to mention you, even I would have a hard time sensing them. After all, in your body, I can't even unleash a 10,000th of my previous strength. Elder Sky's voice suddenly rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. 1/10,000th? Can you not be so exaggerated? Xiao Chen curled his lips. Naturally, he didn't believe Elder Heaven Ancestor's words. You can feel it too? One is a Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist, and the other is a Stage 4 Inner Force martial artist at the peak of Stage 3, Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Not only could he sense that someone was following him, but he could also sense their strength. What? One is a Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist, and the other is at the peak of Stage 3. Two people are following me? And their strength is not high? Xiao Chen was shocked. He was only at the peak of Stage 1 Inner Force. Although he was almost at Stage 2 of Qi refinement, even if he was at Stage 2, he still wouldn't be a match for these two people. Moreover, Xiao Chen only felt that someone was following him. Now that he carefully felt it, it was indeed two people. But what made Xiao Chen feel strange was that these two people weren't together. Instead, they were following him from the left and right. It seemed that these two people weren't in the same group. That's right, Xiao Chen, think about what to do. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice this time was no longer as playful as before. It seemed that he was taking this matter very seriously. Do you have any ideas? Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat as he quickly asked. I have to say, your body is really too weak. Even I can only help you temporarily control one person's thoughts. The Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist is about the same, but the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist basically has no hope, unless you are a Stage 2 Qi refinement stage cultivator. Elder Heaven Ancestor said seriously, so, you better think of a way to escape. Who told you to come to such a remote place? You're blaming me? This is the only way I can go home. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly, but in his mind he was thinking about how to deal with these two people. Got it? Xiao Chen thought of something and quickly said to Elder Heaven Ancestor, Elder Heaven Ancestor, listen to my command later. You take over my body and let the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist attack the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. Okay. Elder Heaven Ancestor readily agreed. After all, if something happened to Xiao Chen, it wouldn't do him any good. After following for so long, it's time to come out, right? Xiao Chen suddenly stopped and said indifferently to someone behind him, Xiao San, help me get rid of this tail. Originally, after hearing Xiao Chen's first sentence, whether it was the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist or the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist, they didn't take it seriously. They didn't believe that Xiao Chen, who couldn't cultivate inner force, could find them. Not to mention that Xiao Chen was an ordinary person. Even a Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist or a Stage 5 Inner Force martial artist wouldn't be able to find them if they didn't look carefully. A martial artist's divine sense and mental strength were very limited. However, after hearing Xiao Chen's last sentence, their hearts trembled at the same time. Who was Xiao San? Xiao Chen's bodyguard? These words made the two of them release their divine sense and mental strength at the same time to explore the surroundings. With this exploration, they really found the other party's existence. This made the two of them shocked at the same time. Xiao Chen wasn't lying, there really was a bodyguard following them. At this point, the two of them didn't hide anymore and jumped out at the same time. These two people probably didn't think that there was no bodyguard among the two of them. It was completely Xiao Chen's bluff, but the two of them didn't say anything. They didn't make a move. Both of them could feel that the other party's strength was similar to their own, so they were a little afraid of each other. In their hearts, their goal was to kill Xiao Chen, not to fight with the other party's bodyguard. Elder Heaven Ancestor, let the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist attack the other Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. Xiaoqin said to Elder Heaven Ancestor. Okay. The next moment, Elder Heaven Ancestor took over Xiaoqian's body and began to use his divine sense and mental strength to affect the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. Although the effect wouldn't be too long as the two of them fought, it was enough. Elder Heaven Ancestor also saw through Xiaoqian's evil idea. He had to say that this idea was a bit immoral, to let two people who were also plotting against him fight. No matter how he looked at it, it was a bit of a trap. The Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist suddenly made a move, and without warning he attacked the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. The Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist was stunned. He didn't expect that the other party's strength was lower than him, but he dared to make the first move. Even if the other party was Xiaoqian's bodyguard, wasn't it a bit too fierce? However, since Xiao San made a move, the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist could only fight back. In an instant, the two of them fought. Xiaoqian's strength was a bit too weak. It was more than enough to control Qin Jinping, but it was a bit difficult to control the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. In just a short while, the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist returned to normal. However, he couldn't figure out why he suddenly attacked Xiaoqian's bodyguard, Xiao San, who seemed to be stronger than him. However, since he had already made a move, he could only continue to fight passively. There was no turning back. If he retreated at this moment, he would die a horrible death. Therefore, the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist could only bite the bullet and fight back and forth with the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. He didn't think that if he begged for mercy and admitted defeat, the other party would let him go. Looking at the other party's appearance, it was obvious that the other party wanted to kill him, so the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist had to fight with all his might. Therefore, both of them thought that the other party was Xiaoqian's bodyguard, and the fight was inextricably linked. Chapter 38. Of course, if one of them spoke before the fight started, it might reveal a flaw. But at this moment, the two of them could not afford to be distracted by talking. At this time, whoever was distracted by talking would be unlucky. Therefore, the two of them tacitly shut their mouths and fought to their heart's content. As for Xiaoqin, although he already had the strength equivalent to a martial artist at the peak of the first stage of inner strength, he still lacked battle experience. In school, even if he fought with others, it would be a fight between students. It was not a cruel battle to the death between martial artists. Therefore, Xiaoqin did not leave. Instead, he stood at a distance and carefully watched the battle between the two of them. He wanted to learn some experience from their moves and how to counter them. When the time came, he would not be caught off guard when fighting against his enemies. Although the two of them were fighting with their lives on the line, the difference in strength was also very obvious. One of them had just reached Stage 3 Inner Force not long ago, while the other was already at the peak of Stage 3 Inner Force. Unknowingly, the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist was at a disadvantage. However, although the other martial artist at the peak of Stage 3 Inner Force had the upper hand, it was obviously not particularly good. This was because he had already been hit several times, causing his speed to slow down. It was just that the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist was in a more miserable state. Very soon, the physical strength of both of them began to show signs of exhaustion. Because they were fighting with their lives on the line, both of them suffered serious injuries. The Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist and the martial artist at the peak of Stage 3 Inner Force were both complaining in their hearts. They did not expect their opponents to be so desperate. This was simply killing them. Both of them had to use all their strength. Even if they were injured, they had to grit their teeth and persevere. If either of them retreated, what awaited them would be death. The Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist's heart was getting colder and colder. His opponent was really too powerful. Even if he had gone all out, he was still losing. He was afraid that in the end he would definitely be left on the spot. Thinking of this, the Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist could not help but have a flash of ruthlessness in his eyes. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well drag someone down with him before he died. That's right, this Stage 3 Inner Strength martial artist was the fugitive that Lu Jinming had found through Lei Dianfeng. He had already disregarded life and death. Since he was going to die today, he might as well die a worthy death. Go to hell. The Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist suddenly changed his strategy of attacking and defending. Instead, he ignored his own weaknesses and smashed his fists towards the peak Stage 3 Inner Force martial artist. The martial artist at the peak of Stage 3 of Inner Force was also shocked. He did not expect his opponent to use a desperate move to end the battle. But thinking about it, he was Xiao Chen's bodyguard, so it was reasonable for him to be loyal to his master. Therefore, the martial artist at the peak of stage 3 had no choice but to continue fighting. He knew that the difference in strength between him and third master Xiao, in front of him, wasn't too big. Even if he wanted to run, he definitely wouldn't be able to. Once he showed any signs of fear, third master Xiao would take advantage of the situation and chase after him, and he would die a terrible death. But now there was still a chance for him to turn the situation around. Maybe he could survive. Therefore, the martial artist at the peak of stage 3 of inner force also made his move. He also ignored the weakness of his body and smashed his fists towards the martial artist at the peak of stage 3 of inner force. Seeing this scene, Xiao Chen, who was not far away, almost laughed out loud. These two idiots, did they really think that their opponent was his bodyguard? How could they fight so hard? However, just as Xiao Chen was feeling happy, he heard the voice of Elder Heaven Ancestor pouring cold water on him. Xiao Chen, are you very happy? Elder Heaven Ancestor asked coldly. Yes, Elder Heaven Ancestor, aren't you happy that you escaped? Xiao Chen was stunned. This time I was really lucky to escape, but have you ever thought about what would happen if one of them spoke and your plan failed? Elder Heaven Ancestor asked. This. After listening to Elder Heaven Ancestor's words, Xiao Chen suddenly felt scared. Yes, if he couldn't successfully provoke these two people to fight, then the one who would be dead now would be him. Actually, I'm not saying these words to discourage you. I just want to tell you that although crafty plots and schemes are important, your own strength is the most important. If you were a stage 3 refinement stage cultivator, you would have the strength to fight, but your current strength is too weak. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. I understand, I will work hard to cultivate. Xiao Chen nodded and said. You have worked hard enough and your cultivation speed is fast enough. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Then what did you mean by what you said before? Xiao Chen couldn't help but smile bitterly. So what Elder Heaven Ancestor said before was nonsense. It means that you should continue to work hard. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. All right. Xiao Chen shrugged and continued to watch the battle. Although Elder Heaven Ancestor's words were nonsense, it made Xiao Chen realize the importance of strength. However, Xiao Chen was a little regretful. Why didn't he meet Elder Heaven Ancestor earlier? If he had met Elder Celestial a step earlier, he would have been a cultivator above the 4th or 5th level of the refinement stage. At that time, would he still need to endure? At that time, even if his father disappeared, the Cheng family wouldn't easily break off the engagement. After all, a young expert with 4 or 5 layers of inner strength was already a very outstanding existence in the 9 aristocratic families. No matter how angry Grandfather Cheng was, he would still be very clear-headed and let the matter be, and not blame it on Xiao Chen. No family would push such a young expert out of the door. This was equivalent to letting other families win over Xiao Chen. And no matter how much pressure the Xiao family was under, it was impossible for them to drive Xiao Chen out of the Xiao family. This was the benefit of strength, but Xiao Chen still needed to rely on his own efforts. Boom dash, a loud sound rang out. The Stage 3 Refinement Stage Martial Artist and the Peak Stage 3 Refinement Stage Martial Artist collided, making a deafening sound that made Xiao Chen's ears ring. The strong wind from the collision made Xiao Chen take 2 steps back. The two martial artists flew out at the same time. The Stage 3 Inner Strength Martial Artist fell to the ground and vomited blood. His nose and ears were also bleeding. It was obvious that he would not survive. On the other hand, although the Stage 3 Inner Strength Martial Artist couldn't get up from the ground and kept vomiting blood, it was obvious that he could still be saved. If he was rescued in time, he could still live. As for whether or not he could recover from such a serious injury, it was hard to say. It depended on his luck. Elder Heaven Ancestor, does the one who didn't die still have the ability to kill me? Xiao Chen was very rational and didn't walk over. Instead, he asked Elder Heaven Ancestor. No, you have the ability to kill him. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, if there is no one to save him now, he's just like a crossbow. He barely has the strength of a Stage 1 Refinement Stage Martial Artist. Xiao Chen nodded and let out a sigh of relief. He strode over to the Stage 3 Refinement Stage Martial Artist. The Stage 3 Refinement Stage Martial Artist was obviously stunned. He didn't expect Xiao Chen to not run away at this time. Instead, he walked over. Wasn't he courting death? Although he was seriously injured, he still had the strength of a Stage 1 Refinement Stage Martial Artist. If he wanted to kill this useless Xiao Chen, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Could it be that Xiao Chen had something else to rely on? Or did Xiao Chen think that he was injured to the point that he couldn't move? This Stage 3 refinement stage martial artist was naturally the man in black who was in the limousine at the entrance of Songning High School at noon. At this point he finally understood why the elder master made a fuss and sent him to kill Xiao Qin. There was no other reason. The elder master probably expected that Xiao Qin had a bodyguard by his side. He just didn't expect that the bodyguard's strength was a Stage 3 refinement stage martial artist, which was similar to him. However, the man in black didn't directly kill Xiao Qin. Although he still had the strength of a Stage 1 refinement stage martial artist, that was strength. If Xiao Qin turned around and ran, his physical strength might not be able to keep up with Xiao Qin. Who sent you? Xiao Qin was very unhappy. It was already confusing enough that someone wanted to kill him and pushed him off the cliff. Now, there were two groups of people who wanted to kill him. Who were these two groups of people? Were they with the people who pushed him off the cliff last time, or were they not? Do you think that I will tell you? The man in black looked at Xiao Qin mockingly. I didn't expect that there would be a bodyguard by Xiao Qin's side. I was wrong. But next time you won't be so lucky. Next time? Xiao Qin frowned slightly. Yes, next time. As he said that, the man in black saw that Xiao Qin was close to him. He suddenly jumped up from the ground, turned his hand into a fist and attacked Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin's eyes slightly focused. If it weren't for the Elder Heaven Ancestor's reminder, he would really be caught off guard at this moment. However, at this time Xiao Qin had already made sufficient preparations. When the black-clothed man's fist came smashing over, Xiao Qin's figure suddenly flashed, dodging the black-clothed man's fierce attack. Then he followed up with a punch, smashing towards the black-clothed man's chest. The whole movement was done in one breath. In fact, Xiao Qin was just applying what he learned on the spot. Previously, when he saw the man in black and the dead Stage 3 inner force martial artist fighting, Xiao Qin had a slight grasp of the man in black's punches. Also, because the man in black was seriously injured, although he still had the strength of Stage 1 inner force, his speed and reflexes were obviously affected. Most importantly, the man in black never thought that Xiao Qin, a useless person who couldn't cultivate inner force, could dodge his fierce attack, and even dare to counterattack. This made him feel unprepared and unbelievable. He watched as Xiao Qin's fist smashed into his chest, making a loud bang sound. The man in black's chest suddenly caved in, and his whole body was hit by Xiao Qin. His eyes flashed a touch of shock and doubt. You actually hid your strength. Inner force Stage 1 peak. Chapter 39. After saying this, the black-clothed man's body fell heavily to the ground. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. He died with his eyes wide open. He was very unwilling. He underestimated his enemy. Not only did he not think that Xiao Qin had a bodyguard, but he also did not think that Xiao Qin was also a martial artist, and he was at the peak of Stage 1 inner force. The strength that hit his body was the strength of the peak of Stage 1 inner force. Phew. Xiao Qin took a deep breath. If he was hit by the black-clothed man's fist, he would not die, but he would definitely be seriously injured. If he did not have a doctor and recovery medicine with him, he would not be able to get up for a few months after he went back. If he did not recover well, it might affect his strength in the future. Therefore, Xiao Qin did not regret killing the black-clothed man, but he was not sure who he was. However, if the black-clothed man was not dead, he probably could not say. Looking at the black-clothed man's appearance, he was obviously a loyal person. Xiao Qin could only look for clues from his body. However, what made Xiao Qin very disappointed was that the black-clothed man seemed to be a very cautious person. This could also be seen from his previous silence. He should be a death warrior. There was nothing on him that could prove his identity, not even a mobile phone or an ID card. The only thing on him other than clothes was a photo. However, this photo was a photo of Xiao Qin. It seemed that the black-clothed man was only relying on this to prevent him from mistaking him for someone else. As for the other things, there was nothing else, which made Xiao Qin very disappointed. However, what made Xiao Qin a little puzzled was that the black-clothed man was also hiding his strength in the word, also. Could it be that there were other people who were hiding their strength? Elder Heaven, if he didn't die, would you be able to get something out of him through your spiritual power? Like hypnosis? Xiao Qin asked with some regret, because he suddenly thought of this possibility. No, I can't. Your body is too weak and I'm just a soul now. I'm also very weak. It's already not easy for me to affect that Stage 3 inner force martial artist. You want to hypnotize me? Elder Heaven Ancestor flatly denied Xiao Qin's idea. If I were stronger I could try. But right now I definitely can't. All right. Xiaoqin gave up on looking for clues from the man in black and turned to the stage 3 inner force martial artist who had died earlier. He looked like a ruthless person with a hideous scar on his face. He did not look like a good person at first glance. Xiaoqin bent down and began to search his body. However, to Xiaoqin's disappointment, this guy seemed to be a bachelor. There was nothing valuable on him. After searching for a long time, Xiaoqin only found a card. Fighter number 3, Vicious Wolf. There were only a few words on the card. It seemed to be something similar to the registration card used before a competition. Could this person be an athlete? However, this card was not very formal. It should not be a large-scale competition. This increased the difficulty of identifying Xiaoqin's identity. After all, nowadays schools, companies and units would hold sports meetings. Even if this person was an athlete, Xiaoqin did not know where the sports meeting was held. Of course, boxing events were still very rare. Unless it was some school's club competition, most companies and units would not hold this event. Could it be that this person was a school student? As soon as this thought came to mind, Xiaoqin immediately shook his head and denied this speculation. After all, this person looked to be in his 30s or 40s. How could there be such an old uncle student? Moreover, this person had a fierce look on his face. He did not look like a student at all. Especially the long scar on his face, he looked more like a gangster. If that was the case, could it be a sports meeting in a gang? Yes. Xiaoqin suddenly thought of an underground sport in Songning City: underground boxing. In the past, when Xiaoqin was the young master of the Xiao family, he often went to the underground racetrack with Qin Jinping, Zhu Yingxiong, Chao Yuliang and others. Just like the underground racetrack, there was another underground sport, which was underground boxing. Although Xiaoqin had not participated in it, he had heard about it. One was gambling on cars and the other was gambling on boxing. These were the methods used by the local gangsters to amass money. As a matter of fact, there were many spectators who placed their bets. When added up, it would be a huge sum of money. As for this Scarface, no matter how he looked at it, it was in line with the image of an underground boxing fighter. Perhaps this card was his registration card when he participated in the competition. He did not think that this thing was important, so he did not throw it away. In other words, this Scarface originally planned to go to the underground boxing arena after killing him. That was why he kept this card. It was just that he never dreamed that he would be left here. Xiaoqin took out the card and put it in his pocket. As for the photo of the black-shirt man, he did not take it away. If he took it away, it might alert the enemy and let the person hiding behind the scenes know that the black-shirt man's death was related to him. Xiaoqin's current goal was to let the person behind the scenes not know that the death of the two people was related to him. He only wanted to create an accident where the two people accidentally had a conflict and killed each other. But from the looks of it now, Xiaoqin's scheme could be considered very successful. No one would be able to suspect him. After doing all this, Xiaoqin did not stay at all. He turned around and left. Although there was no one passing by for a long time, Xiaoqin could not guarantee that no one would come after a long time. Xiaoqin did not want anyone to see him here. After quickly leaving this ominous place, Xiaoqin was slightly relieved. With Xiaoqin's divine sense, he could sense that there was no one nearby. Out of this empty alley, there was a lot of traffic outside. Xiaoqin randomly found a convenience store on the side of the road and walked in. He took a cooking recipe from the shelf and took a few bags of biscuits and instant noodles, as well as lunch boxes and other things. After paying the bill, he walked to the villa area. Although Xiaoqin only pretended to be a prodigal, he did not have the opportunity to cook on weekdays. So, it was really unrealistic for him to cook directly. He could only buy some fast food for 2 days first. Then, when he learned how to cook, he would buy the food himself. As soon as Xiaoqin entered, Qing Menjing asked him in a very displeased manner, "Where have you been?" She was so angry at home. Yi Xiaoya made a bowl of instant noodles, which filled the living room with the fragrance. The eldest miss was so greedy that she went to ask Yi Xiaoya for a bag. However, Yi Xiaoya said coldly, "If you want to eat it, buy it yourself." Qing Menjing was so angry that smoke was coming out of her nostrils and nose. Qing Menjing was really hungry. Otherwise, she would not be interested in a bag of instant noodles. She suddenly remembered that there was no food in the villa after she got off Jean Bei's car. Why did she go out last night and sleep on Xiaoqin's body? Wasn't it because she wanted to go out to eat? Yi Xiaoya did not give it to Xiaoqin. She just waited in the living room for Xiaoqin to come back and take her to eat. However, she did not see Xiaoqin after waiting for a long time. She wanted to call Xiaoqin, but she found that she did not have Xiaoqin's phone number at all. Also, she was too embarrassed to call Cheng Zhongming to ask. Therefore, the eldest miss could only wait in the living room bitterly. It was not until Xiao Chen appeared slowly that she almost became a stone gazing at her husband. Xiao Chen was a little confused about the eldest miss's attitude. Why did she get angry for no reason? However, thinking that he had indeed wasted a lot of time, and it was not appropriate to tell Cheng Menjing about the attack on the road, Xiao Chen had to wave the bag in his hand and said, "I was afraid that we would have nothing to eat tonight, so I bought some biscuits and instant noodles." "Did you go to buy food?" Cheng Menjing's face turned red. She suddenly felt a little ashamed. It turns out that Xiao Chen did not come back so late for no reason, but he thought of me and bought food for me. However, although Miss Cheng thought so in her heart, her arrogant character still made her pretend to not care. "It's instant noodles. I have never eaten this kind of thing before. But since there is nothing to eat, I will give you face and eat a little." In the past, Xiao Chen really did not find that Cheng Menjing was so arrogant. Now that he had more contact with her, he felt that the eldest miss was quite fun. He almost couldn't hold back his laughter. However, Xiao Chen was afraid that Cheng Menjing would be embarrassed, so he pretended not to know and said, "Thank you, eldest miss, for giving me face. You quickly go to the instant noodles. I am hungry." Cheng Menjing sat on the sofa, then picked up the remote control and turned on the TV. Yi Xiaoye, who had just gone downstairs to the kitchen to boil medicine, happened to see this scene. She couldn't help but twitch her mouth and said disdainfully, "The ability to command others. Who are you talking about?" Cheng Menjing originally had a problem with Yi Xiaoye. "There are so many bags of instant noodles. Can't she give me one bag?" Now that Xiao Chen cooked noodles for me, she still came to make sarcastic remarks. "It's really hateful. Whoever did it is responsible," Yi Xiaoye said indifferently. After that, she ignored Cheng Menjing and went into the kitchen. Miss Cheng was furious, but she couldn't refute Yi Xiaoye's words. Yi Xiaoye had made it clear that whoever did it should be blamed. If Cheng Menjing refuted Yi Xiaoye's words, wouldn't she be admitting that Yi Xiaoye had scolded her? Wasn't that equivalent to being scolded? "Yi Xiaoye, I'll remember it." Cheng Menjing fiercely remembered what happened today in her heart. Xiao Chen was in the kitchen boiling water with an electric kettle. After entering the kitchen, Xiao Chen found that he forgot to buy an electric kettle. Fortunately, there was one in the kitchen, otherwise Xiao Chen would have to run out. Yi Xiaoye walked into the kitchen and glanced at the kettle that Xiao Chen boiled water with. She said, "That kettle is mine." Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Thinking of Yi Xiaoye's overbearing attitude yesterday, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Chapter 40. But you can use it. After Yi Xiaoye finished this sentence, she no longer paid attention to Xiao Chen. Instead, she began to fiddle with the clay pot that was used to boil medicine, preparing to boil the medicinal soup. Xiao Chen didn't expect Yi Xiaoye to say this. He couldn't help but say gratefully, "Thank you. I'm learning to cook these days, so I have to eat instant noodles for a few days. When I master it, I will treat you to a meal." Since Yi Xiaoye was generous, Xiao Chen naturally needed to show some kindness. After all, they were under the same roof. Xiao Chen didn't want to make the relationship too stiff. "Oh." Yi Xiaoye didn't seem to care. She responded faintly and didn't look up. Instead, she carefully fiddled with her pot of medicinal herbs. Soon the hot water was ready. Xiao Chen made 2 bowls of instant noodles and brought them to the living room. One bowl was given to Cheng Menjing, and the other bowl was opened by himself. Then he ate it quickly. Cheng Menjing slowly opened the lid of the lunchbox and ate the noodles in small mouthfuls. Not to mention, this instant noodles tasted good. However, when she heard Xiao Chen slurping the noodles, she suddenly became a little angry. "Hey, can't you be a gentleman in front of this lady? No wonder the engagement was broken off. Who would marry you like this?" Puff. Xiao Chen spat out a mouthful of noodles, and it sprayed directly into the lady's lunchbox. You broke off the engagement first, and then you know that I eat like this, okay?" Listening to your tone, it seems that the person who broke off the engagement is someone else? "Xiao Chen, I'm going to kill you." Cheng Menjing didn't care about the matter of breaking off the engagement. She looked at the top of the lunchbox in her hand, and the half of the noodles that Xiao Chen spat out was hanging. Cheng Menjing's eyes were about to spit out fire. "How do you want me to eat it?" "I'm sorry." Xiao Chen scratched his head helplessly. Could he be blamed for this? If Cheng Menjing hadn't said such a strange thing, would he have laughed? What's the use of being sorry? Cheng Menjing was eating happily just now and felt that the taste was good, but now she couldn't eat at all. Could it be that she ate Xiao Chen's saliva? I'll eat this. I'll make you another bowl. Xiao Chen wasn't full yet. With his appetite, one lunchbox wasn't enough for him. As he spoke, he took the lunchbox from Missy's hands and stuffed it into his own bowl. Then he walked towards the kitchen while eating. When Cheng Menjing heard that Xiao Chen wanted to make a new bowl of noodles for her, the anger in her heart dissipated a lot. Then I'll give you a chance to make up for your mistake. Don't put the vegetable buns in the instant noodles. They're dry and not tasty. Cheng Menjing just didn't like to eat the vegetable buns in the instant noodles. This time she could save a lot of trouble. However, looking at Xiao Chen eating happily, Cheng Menjing suddenly found that something was wrong. She said angrily, "Xiao Chen, you're taking advantage of me." Xiao Chen was stunned. He thought, how did I take advantage of you? I bought the instant noodles. I ate 2 bags. I can't say that I'm taking advantage of you, right? You. Cheng Menjing didn't know how to explain. She held it in for a long time before saying, "You want to kiss me indirectly." Xiao Chen listened to Missy's strange explanation and understood. It turns out that eating Missy's leftovers is an indirect kiss? Xiao Chen was a little dumbfounded. You went to the hotel to sleep. Can it be interpreted as having slept with a lot of people indirectly? Yi Xiaoya just walked out of the kitchen and went to the refrigerator to get something. When she heard Cheng Menjing's words, she suddenly said coldly, "Don't take ignorance as your personality." You. Cheng Menjing listened to Yi Xiaoya's words, and she was so angry that she couldn't speak. "Xiao Chen, you explain for me. What else can you do except to order others when something happens?" Yi Xiaoya took out a plastic container from the refrigerator. She didn't know what was in it, and then she took out a small fruit from it. After she closed the plastic container and put it in the refrigerator again, she turned around and returned to the kitchen. When has Cheng Menjing suffered such humiliation? This Yi Xiaoya is really bad. Since I moved in, she has been opposing me everywhere. It has only been 2 days. If this continues, Cheng Menjing is really afraid that I will be angered to death. After Xiao Chen finished eating the noodles, he brushed Missy's bento box clean. He reheated the hot water and was making instant noodles for Missy. Yi Xiaoya just walked in. Xiao Chen couldn't help but say, "Yi Xiaoya, Menjing's order is actually not a problem. I am her servant. It is my duty to do these things." Cheap wretch. Yi Xiaoya's eyes flashed a trace of contempt. There are people who like to be servants for others. Xiao Chen couldn't help but smile bitterly. It wasn't that he liked to be Cheng Menjing's servant, but he really had no other way. Moreover, if it weren't for Cheng Menjing taking him in, he really didn't know what to do. But these secrets Xiao Chen couldn't explain to Yi Xiaoya. He could only shrug and smile. Everyone has their own helplessness. You can't change your own life, so you can only adapt to it. Yi Xiaoya's expression moved slightly, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she threw the small fruit that she had just taken out from the refrigerator into the clay pot. Suddenly, the kitchen was filled with the smell of medicinal materials. The smell of decocting medicine was naturally strong and unpleasant. Missy's instant noodles were contaminated by the smell of medicine. It didn't have the previous smooth and fragrant taste. This allowed Cheng Menjing to find a place to vent. She put down the bento box in her hand and shouted in the direction of the kitchen. Some people really have no public morality. The house is rented together, but she made some messy smell. Does she want to suffocate others? If you want to decoct medicine, go to your own room to do it. Don't disturb others. However, what Cheng Menjing didn't expect was that Yi Xiaoya just went out of the kitchen and looked at Cheng Menjing coldly. Then she directly unplugged the power on the electric clay pot and walked out of the kitchen with the hot clay pot. Cheng Menjing was shocked. Is this Yi Xiaoya crazy and wants to pour this hot medicinal soup on me? However, Yi Xiaoya didn't stay. She wasn't afraid of the heat. She went upstairs with the clay pot. Then after a while, the sound of the door closing came from upstairs. Obviously, Yi Xiaoya ran back to her room to decoct medicine. This move made Xiao Chen a little surprised, but now it seemed that Yi Xiaoya wasn't really an unreasonable person. As long as it was wrong, she would accept it humbly. However, this made it hard for Missy Cheng Menjing. She finally found a reason to attack Yi Xiaoya, but the result was a punch on cotton. Yi Xiaoya really accepted it humbly and went to her own room to decoct medicine, but Missy didn't feel victorious at all. Cheng Menjing picked up the lunchbox and continued to eat, but it was as if the noodles in the box were Yi Xiaoya, which made Cheng Menjing gnash her teeth. Xiao Chen felt that Miss Cheng at the moment was quite cute. If he knew her earlier, perhaps he would like her very much. After all, this kind of arrogant character was also quite cute. Princess syndrome, it was understandable. However, now Xiao Chen was very clear about his own position. He was no longer the young master of the Xiao family. The relationship with Cheng Menjing was only that of a master and servant. Xiao Chen wouldn't have any improper thoughts. He didn't want to provoke old Master Cheng before he figured out the behind-the-scenes manipulator. The old man was still immersed in the pain of losing his son. Although Xiao Chen was somewhat wronged, it was also understandable. Who could calm down when their son died? After Missy finished eating the instant noodles, she glanced at Xiao Chen and said, "I'm going upstairs. I'm going to bed. You rest by yourself." Okay. Xiao Chen knew that Cheng Menjing probably remembered what happened last night, but Xiao Chen was smart and didn't mention it. If it was in the past, when he was still Cheng Menjing's fiancé, then Xiao Chen didn't mind being more ambiguous with Cheng Menjing. But now it was just asking for trouble. After Xiao Chen cleaned Missy's lunchbox, he randomly chose a room downstairs and put his clothes into the wardrobe. Because he didn't go home last night, Xiao Chen didn't have time to unpack his luggage. Of course, the room that Xiao Chen chose was a room that was relatively close to the entrance of the villa. If there was any movement at the entrance of the villa, Xiao Chen would be able to notice it immediately. After all, Xiao Chen's divine sense and mental power were now incomparable to others. After tidying up everything, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the bed. He started the mantra of Heaven's Fortune Battle Art, and began a new night of cultivation. In the ward of the First People's Hospital of Songning City, Lu Jinming and Skinny Monkey sat opposite Ma Gangmin's bed, anxiously waiting for Lei Dianfeng's news. Suddenly an urgent phone rang. Lu Jinming quickly picked up the phone. "Teacher Lei. Young Master Ming, bad news, Vicious Wolf is dead." Lei Dianfeng's voice was a little anxious. "I just received news that Vicious Wolf died in a small alley." "What? Vicious Wolf is dead? How is it possible? Didn't he go to kill Xiao Chen? Is Xiao Chen a master?" After hearing the news, Lu Jinming was shocked. He couldn't figure out how Vicious Wolf died. How could a warrior with Inner Force Stage 3 not be able to deal with an ordinary person with less than Inner Force Stage 1? It wasn't Xiao Chen who killed Vicious Wolf. The identity of the person who killed Vicious Wolf is unknown, but it seems that his strength is similar to Vicious Wolf. Because there are two bodies at the scene, it seems that the two people died together. The traces of fighting at the scene are completely consistent with the injuries of the two people. Lei Dianfeng said. After all, although Xiao Chen's last blow was a fatal blow, because Xiao Chen only punched, these people were prejudiced and naturally ignored the existence of Xiao Chen. "Who's so nosy? Is there a master around Xiao Chen?" Lu Jinming frowned. One should know that Vicious Wolf's strength was not weak, and the person who died together with Vicious Wolf was at least a master of Inner Force Stage 3. Moreover, Vicious Wolf was an underground boxer and a desperado. He dared to fight with his life. If one wanted to kill Vicious Wolf, it would be at least a master of Inner Force Stage 3. Chapter 41. It's impossible. If this person is Xiao Chen's bodyguard, there is no reason for Xiao Chen to leave his body and run away. Lei Dianfeng shook his head. At present, gang leader Lu has blocked the news and is secretly investigating the identity of the black-shirt man who died together. However, according to our speculation, the most likely reason is that this black-shirt man saw Vicious Wolf and wanted to get a reward, so he made a move. You know, Vicious Wolf is a fugitive, and the bounty is not low. If I didn't follow young Master Ming to eat and drink well, I would even be tempted. If these two people died together, then their strength is obviously not much different. This black-shirt man still dared to make a move? Lu Jinming was a little puzzled. People die for wealth and birds die for food. The strength of this black-shirt man is definitely higher than Vicious Wolf, but don't forget, how rich is Vicious Wolf's combat experience. Even if the black-shirt man's strength is high, Vicious Wolf wins in terms of combat experience. It is still possible for both of them to die together. Lei Dianfeng said, as for the black-shirt man's true strength, we have to wait for the consecrator in the gang to personally check it. After a martial artist died in a short period of time, those with superior strength could still judge the strength of the deceased from the aura left on their bodies, but Lei Dianfeng obviously didn't have this ability. In the entire Lu family gang, only the consecrator had this ability. How can I be so unlucky? Lu Jinming was really speechless. It wasn't easy to find a desperado to kill Xiao Chen, but he was killed in the end. Moreover, he died without knowing why. This made him very depressed. However, he couldn't make a move on Xiao Chen in the short term. On the one hand, it was not easy to find a desperado. On the other hand, if he let the Lu family help his people, then it would definitely leave a handle for Jing Xiaoquan. The biggest taboo in the underworld was to not keep one's word. The way to resolve disputes in the underworld was either to fight to the death, or to talk about numbers, apologize, or draw a line and have a competition. If after talking about numbers, there was still a need to settle accounts later, then who would choose to talk about numbers in the future? Let's just fight to the death. This was obviously not in line with the interests of the underworld. After all, the current underworld also prioritized interests, not just fighting. Lu Zhenming did not dare to set a precedent. Just as Lu Zhenming was feeling depressed, the young man from the afternoon was also quietly waiting for news in an RV. However, when he heard that the man in black was killed by a desperado, he was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. What did you say? Did our people perish together with that fugitive called Vicious Wolf? The youth stared at the person who reported the news and asked incredulously. Young master, in the Lu family gang, the spy we bribed immediately sent back the news. That fugitive was found by the Lu family gang. A person who looked like a butler said. Lu family gang? They found a fugitive and killed my men? What? The youth frowned. He had no enmity with the Lu family gang. The Lu family gang spy was just to inquire about information, but he didn't want to use anything. I don't know about this. After all, why did the Lu family gang hire a fugitive? Why did they hire this fugitive? Not to mention that the status of the few spies we buried in the Lu family gang isn't high. Even if they had a high status, they might not know. I just heard that they hired Vicious Wolf to do something for the Lu family gang's young master, Lu Zhenming, said the butler. Do something for Lu Zhenming? Doing something for Lu Zhenming. What does it have to do with my people? He killed my people. Isn't there something wrong with him? Did I provoke him? The youth was so angry that his face was livid. Could it be that he was standing up for Xiaoqin? Or was it a coincidence? I don't know about this. The butler shook his head. Investigate Lu Zhenming for me. Investigate his relationship with Xiaoqin at school. The youth said with a gloomy face. Yes, young master. The butler nodded. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. Lu Zhenming, who was in the hospital, quickly received the news that the strength of the black-shirt man was a peak third-stage inner-strength martial artist. In this way, Lei Dianfeng's explanation could be explained. Generally speaking, a martial artist at the peak third-stage inner-strength martial artist was still very confident in defeating a martial artist who had just advanced to the third-stage inner-strength. However, the black-shirt man probably didn't expect to encounter a fighting master like Vicious Wolf. How could a martial artist who fought in the underground boxing be an ordinary martial artist? They all had a lot of actual combat experience. It was just that the Lu family would never dream that the black-shirt man's actual combat experience was not weak. The reason why he also died on the spot was not because of Vicious Wolf, but because of Xiaoqin. Teacher Lei, can we find another desperado? If Xiaoqin didn't die, Lu Zhenming really couldn't vent the anger in his heart. When he thought of the seafood meal that Xiaoqin cheated away, and then saw Mengmen's half-dead appearance, Lu Zhenming wanted to kill Xiaoqin. Young Master Ming, this is basically impossible, at least not in the short term. Teacher Lei said, although this matter was covered up by our Lu family gang, now that Vicious Wolf is dead, the people in our Lu family gang know that Vicious Wolf died while doing something for our Lu family gang. Although everyone doesn't know what Vicious Wolf is doing, if another desperado comes, it will be different. So, if Vicious Wolf is fine and leaves after killing people, probably no one will notice. However, if Xiaoqin is killed by a desperado and Xiaoqin is killed, it is hard to guarantee that no one will connect it to the previous matter. Our Lu family gang is not monolithic. There must be spies from other gangs or families in it. They will not let go of any opportunity to attack us. Okay, I got it. Lu Zhenming knew that it couldn't be done, so he didn't force it, but he was a little depressed. Brother Ming, don't get angry. I'm fine. We will take revenge on ourselves in the future. Xiaoqin, let him be free for a while. Mengmen saw Lu Zhenming's depression, so he comforted him. Mengmen, you are right. We will think of a way in the future. Lu Zhenming nodded and had to give up the idea of dealing with Xiaoqin for the time being. He planned to think about it after a while. By the way, you two help me think about it. How should I pursue Qing Menjing? Things are different now. There's the annoying Jean Bebe. With her around, I can't carry out my skills at all. The girl's head is full of tricks and tricks. I'll be fooled if I'm not careful. Brother Ming, I think there are only a few ways to pick up girls. Since Qing Menjing is the eldest daughter of the Qing family, it is impossible to use money to attack her. The remaining ways are either to move her with romance or to be a hero to save her. Beauties all like romance and heroes. The slim monkey-like guy was rather insightful. Since he was known as Lu Jinming's advisor, he was quite smart when it came to offering ideas. Romance. Hero to save the beauty? Lu Jinming pondered on the slim monkey-like guy's words and felt that they did make sense. Indeed, there were only two ways to win a girl's heart. As for romance, with Jin Beibei by Cheng Menjing's side, Lu Jinming could not be romantic even if he wanted to. Whatever he did, Jin Beibei would misinterpret it. Therefore, Lu Jinming thought for a moment and decided to start with the hero to save the beauty. Tell me, how can I be a hero to save the beauty? Brother Ming, to be a hero to save the beauty, the slim monkey-like guy said. When Cheng Menjing is in danger, you must stand up and take care of the danger so that you can win Cheng Menjing's favor. For example, Cheng Menjing is robbed. Robbed? Lu Jinming's eyes suddenly shone. Let's do it this way. Find two people on our side and pretend to be robbers. Then they will rob Cheng Menjing. Then I will show up. Why don't we call Mr. Lei and ask him to send two people here? The slim monkey-like guy suggested. This won't do. Just now, Teacher Lei said that the Lu family gang isn't as united as a piece of iron. If someone leaks it and the Qing family finds out, not only will Cheng Menjing not like me, she will hate me. Lu Jinming waved his hand and said, if Steelgate wasn't injured, you and Steelgate could pretend to be robbers, but we're still missing one person. One robber isn't shocking enough. You're too skinny and don't look like a robber. Brother Ming, although I am injured, my younger brother, Ma Gangmen, is not inferior to me in size. You have seen him before. It is possible for him to be a robber. Ma Gangmen thought about it and said, it's just that my younger brother's head was smashed by a brick when he was young. He is not very smart. I have to tell him in detail what to do. Otherwise it will not be good if he is stunned. Ma Gangmen? Lu Jinming nodded. He remembered Ma Gangmen's younger brother's tower-like figure. Ma Gangmen was not very smart. He dropped out of school early and stayed at home. Now he helped Ma Gangmen's father run a small casino. Because of Lu Jinming's support, the small casino's business was still very good. Ma Gangmen acted as a thug in the casino. In terms of physical strength, Ma Gangmen was stronger than Ma Gangmen, so it was a good choice to let him pretend to be a robber. Although the guy looked dumb, at least he was on their side, so Lu Jinming agreed. Okay, slim monkey-like guy, you and Gangmen plan. I will go back first. Okay, brother Ming. Thin monkey-like guy nodded. After Lu Jinming left, Ma Gangmen called Ma Gangmen over. The three of them discussed the plan to save the beauty. Although Ma Gangmen was not good at acting, he also knew that the Ma family's casino was thriving because of Lu Jinming. Otherwise, how could you open a casino without some strength? This was the industry that the gangs valued the most. How could they let others run it? However, because Ma Gangmen was Lu Jinming's lackey, the Lu family gang did not make things difficult for the Ma family. Instead, when the Ma family's casino was in trouble, they rushed over immediately. Therefore, Ma Gangmen was very grateful. He was very concerned about Lu Jinming's matters. Chapter 42. Brother, don't worry. I will do whatever Brother Ming tells me to do. If he tells me to go east, I will definitely not go west. Ma Gangmen said. It's useless to say these things. When the time comes, acting is better than anything else. Ma Gangmen reminded. One night's time was neither short nor long. Under Xiao Chen's diligent cultivation, the energy in his body was constantly circulating in his meridians, and it became more and more vigorous. Last night, Xiao Chen had already touched the edge of the second level of the refinement stage. Today Xiao Chen planned to break through in one fell swoop. Xiao Chen's essence circulated in circles. As his essence kept increasing, he could sense that the moment was not far away. Sure enough, the energy circulating in Xiao Chen's body suddenly stopped, and then it quickly rushed to his dantian. In an instant, all the energy continuously poured into Xiao Chen's dantian. Xiao Chen only felt that his dantian was about to explode. The energy in his dantian was constantly being compressed. This feeling was exactly the same as when Xiao Chen went from an ordinary person to a first level of the refinement stage cultivator. Therefore, although Xiao Chen was in pain, he was not afraid. This was because Xiao Chen knew that he was about to break through. Boom! Not long after, Xiao Chen's body shook, and in his body, it seemed that something had been broken. There was a jolting pain, and there was a kind of pleasure of being released in an instant. I broke through. Phew. Xiao Chen let out a long sigh of relief. Second level of the refinement stage? In other words, Now I have the strength equivalent to the second level of the inner force? Stretching out his hands in disbelief, Xiaochen looked at his hands that had not changed at all. He felt that it was unreal. The strength that he had dreamed of since he was a child was now in his possession. In 3 days he went from an ordinary person to a second level of the refinement stage, which was equivalent to a second level of the inner force cultivator. If he had not experienced it himself, Xiaochen would have thought that he was dreaming. Even if he was a genius, it was impossible to go from an ordinary person to a second level of the inner force cultivator in 3 days, but now Xiaochen had done it. You broke through? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice also sounded in Xiaochen's ears. Xiaochen was already accustomed to the Elder Heaven Ancestor's mysterious appearance. I broke through. Elder Heaven Ancestor, isn't the speed of my breakthrough a bit too fast? Xiaochen was not an idiot. This kind of leveling speed could be said to be unprecedented, but Xiaochen just happened to be able to do it. Hopefully there won't be any repercussions. It is indeed a bit fast, but I still don't know what is going on. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice was a bit doubtful. In theory, the speed of your breakthrough is too fast. Even the geniuses I have seen before, without the help of treasures, it is impossible to advance to the second level of the refinement stage in 3 days. Oh? In other words, with the help of treasures, it is possible to advance? Xiaochen asked. That is possible, but the problem is that you have nothing in your hands. How did you advance? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice was very strange. The environment around you is also not a paradise. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth is so thin, but you can still advance so fast. It is really incredible. Forget it, since you can't understand it, then there is no need for me to think about it. At least for the time being, there is no adverse situation. Even if there is, at least it is better than no strength. If I didn't have strength, I am afraid I would have died yesterday. Xiaochen was open-minded. Having strength was much better than not having strength. Even if there might be a side effect, Xiaochen would not refuse. After all, the side effect was a problem for the future. If he didn't have strength now, he would probably be dead. That is true. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice was solemn. Xiaochen, you are now a second-level refinement stage cultivator. From the second level, you will have to temper your body. To put it bluntly, it is to lay the foundation for the future. Although there is no effect in a short period of time, I have to remind you that you still have to complete the first step before advancing to the third level. Otherwise, it will have a great impact on your future. Xiaochen listened to Elder Heaven Ancestor's solemn words. He did not dare to be negligent and quickly asked, Good. How should I temper my body? Body tempering requires some herbs. After you buy them, decoct them according to the method I told you. Then soak your body in it for 5 days. Otherwise, Elder Heaven Ancestor did not continue, but Xiaochen could still understand. Otherwise, his future progress would be very limited. Alright, tell me. I'll write it down and go buy it today, Xiaochen quickly replied. Elder Heaven Ancestor did not say anything. He only transmitted the information to Xiaochen's mind. The names and numbers of the herbs became clear to Xiaochen. Immediately, Xiaochen found a piece of white paper and wrote down the herbs and the numbers. After doing all this, Xiaochen said, By the way, Elder Heaven Ancestor, didn't you say that cultivators have more special abilities than warriors? I am now a second-level chi refining stage cultivator. What kind of special abilities do I have? Haven't I already transmitted the abilities of the first few levels of chi refining stage to you? You can go and take a look. Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly reminded him, However, I advise you to only look at the second level. As for the third and fourth levels, wait until you have reached that level. Otherwise, there will be benefits that will tempt you. It will affect your mind and it will be detrimental to your future cultivation path. I understand. Xiaochen nodded and began to flip through the special abilities of the second-level chi refining stage in his mind. With one look, he could not help but feel a little disappointed. Because the special ability of the second-level chi refining stage was to enhance the 6 senses. Vision, hearing, nose, tongue, body, and consciousness. The first 5 senses did not seem to be of much use to Xiaochen. After all, as a cultivator, his divine sense and mental energy were already very huge. His perception was rather strong. Even if he increased it, it would only be a little stronger than the original foundation. The last one, consciousness, was quite important. It could distinguish between people who obviously had bad or good intentions towards him. Of course, this premise was also based on the level of strength. Although Xiaochen did not know how much higher the level of strength was, it was certainly not too high. At most, it would be 1 or 2 levels higher than him. Moreover, the distinction between bad and good intentions was not clear, which made Xiaoqin very depressed. Elder Heaven Ancestor, this seems to be the same as not getting any benefits, right? Xiaoqin asked somewhat unwillingly. Why not? This enhancement of the six senses is something that many people can't get even if they want it. Elder Heaven Ancestor said resentfully, your eyesight and hearing are better than others. When in battle, the advantage is quite obvious, especially when someone sneaks up on you. You can hear the movement and react in advance. Nose and tongue also have great benefits. If you smell or eat something abnormal, you can detect it immediately and not be poisoned. As for body, it can enhance your sense of touch, which is very helpful for future alchemy. You can feel the state of the medicinal herbs in the medicinal cauldron. These benefits are innumerable. Don't just focus on what is in front of you. After listening to Elder Heaven Ancestor's explanation, Xiaoqin suddenly felt a little embarrassed. It seems like what you said is very powerful? It is very powerful. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. You ask those martial artists which one doesn't want to hear and see. You are not a good thing. Well, my expectations are a little too high. Xiaoqin smiled bitterly. When I go to school, I will pass by the pharmacy. I will go and buy the body-tempering medicine first. Now Xiaoqin had a huge sum of 10,000 yuan. It was more than enough to buy some medicinal herbs. In the morning, because Xiaoqin had just broken through, he had nothing to do. So, he got up early and prepared to go to the kitchen to boil water for breakfast. However, he heard movement outside the living room window. Xiaoqin climbed up the window and looked. It turned out that Yi Xiaoya was watering her flowers and plants. This made Xiaoqin somewhat surprised. Yi Xiaoya got up so early just to water her flowers and plants? However, Xiaoqin was not a nosy person. After looking at it, he went to the kitchen. When Xiaoqin finished boiling the water, it was almost time. Cheng Minjing yawned and walked down the stairs, but her eyes were full of resentment. Xiaoqin was very puzzled. Who provoked Miss Cheng? Is it the person in my dream? Cheng Minjing saw Xiaoqin in the kitchen, so she asked, Where is Yi Xiaoya? She is outside playing with the flowers and plants. Why are you looking for her? Xiaoqin asked curiously. To settle the bill. Cheng Minjing turned and walked out of the door. She opened the door of the villa and saw Yi Xiaoya watering her flowers and plants. Her leisurely look made Cheng Minjing even angrier. Yi Xiaoya? Yi Xiaoya looked at Cheng Minjing, who had an unfriendly expression on her face. You have 1 day to pour out 4/5 of the flower bed. Otherwise, I will pull out your flowers and plants. Cheng Minjing pointed to the flowers and plants in the flower bed. You are too much, right? They are all planted in. If you pull them out, they will die. Yi Xiaoya frowned. Besides, I only took up half. Isn't the other half enough for what you want to plant? If you want to keep your flowers and plants, don't make a racket in the house at night. This was Cheng Minjing's purpose. Pulling out the flowers and plants was just a threat. At night? Yi Xiaoya was slightly stunned. She finally understood why Cheng Minjing was so angry. Looking at Cheng Minjing's red eyes, it was obvious that she didn't sleep well. Yi Xiaoya knew that she was in the wrong. She was afraid that Cheng Minjing would really go crazy and pull out her flowers and plants, so she had to say, I won't do it in the future. Cheng Minjing turned and returned to the villa. Xiaoqin just finished making instant noodles, so the miss sat at the dining table and began to enjoy the delicious instant noodles. The anger in her heart also dissipated a lot. Chapter 43. Last night, Cheng Minjing didn't know what Yi Xiaoya was doing, but she didn't fall asleep until 12 a.m. She didn't know what Yi Xiaoya was doing. After breakfast, Jean Bei's car arrived and parked at the gate of the villa. Cheng Minjing threw 100 yuan to Xiaoqin and got on Jean Bei's beetle. After Cheng Minjing left, Yi Xiaoya happened to come in for breakfast. Seeing that Xiaoqin took 100 yuan, Yi Xiaoya couldn't help but show a disdainful look. Perhaps she felt that Xiaoqin was living under someone else's roof and had no dignity. However, how could Yi Xiaoya know Xiaoqin's difficulties? Shrugging, Xiaoqin didn't take it seriously and followed her out of the villa. Yesterday, when Xiaoqin went to the convenience store, he saw a relatively large pharmacy that also sold medicinal ingredients. It seemed that the scale was not small, so Xiaoqin decided to buy the medicinal ingredients that Elder Sky mentioned. Sir, what can I do for you? As soon as Xiaoqin pushed the door and walked into the pharmacy, a melodious voice like that of an oriole in the morning rang. Xiaoqin raised his head and saw a girl in a white coat looking at him with a smile. The girl was about 18 or 19 years old. She didn't have any makeup on her face and had a clean smile, which made Xiao Chen feel refreshed. This girl was like a sister next door, which reminded Xiao Chen of Ke Lin. But in comparison, the young girl was graceful and unrestrained, while Lin Ke was extremely shy. Seeing that Xiao Chen was staring at her face, the girl couldn't help but blush. However, seeing that Xiao Chen was wearing a school uniform and didn't look like a hooligan, she felt that she might have misunderstood Xiao Chen. "Is there something on my face?" the girl asked uncertainly. "No." Xiao Chen shook his head and also realized that he was a bit rude, which made him feel ashamed. Even though Xiao Chen had seen too many beauties, he couldn't help but admit at this moment that the pure beauty of this young girl was very unique. It was like a clear spring, although clear, it was sweet to taste. "I'm sorry, everyone loves beauty. I thought I was looking at a goddess's photo on the computer." Xiao Chen's words made the girl a bit dumbfounded. He didn't have to be so frank, right? However, because of Xiao Chen's frankness, the girl didn't hate him. Instead, she felt that Xiao Chen was quite sincere and interesting. Besides, Xiao Chen was right. Everyone loved beauty. Who didn't like being complimented by others? "It doesn't matter. I'm not a goddess." The girl was a bit embarrassed. "It doesn't matter. I want to buy some medicinal herbs. Isn't there a master who specializes in dispensing medicine here?" Xiao Chen looked at the girl's appearance. She should be a salesperson here. She could sell some finished medicine, but this kind of thing was usually handled by someone in every pharmacy. The girl was a bit unhappy with Xiao Chen's belittling. She stretched out her hand and said, "Give me the prescription." Xiao Chen was stunned, but he still gave the prescription that he copied to the girl. His heart was puzzled. This girl also knows how to dispense medicine? The girl took the prescription and looked at it. At first she didn't think much of it. But as she read, her face suddenly became strange. Even the way she looked at Xiao Chen changed. Xiao Chen also felt the girl's eyes. He suddenly felt a bit nervous. What kind of eyes is this? Is there a problem with this prescription? Could it be a prescription for aphrodisiac? Otherwise, why would this girl have this kind of eyes? However, Elder Heaven Ancestor couldn't lie to himself. So Xiao Chen still asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem with the prescription?" "Are you sure you want this prescription? And you want 5? The girl looked up and down at Xiao Chen. It made Xiao Chen have a kind of creepy feeling. "Is there something wrong with it?" Xiao Chen asked tentatively. "Do you know how much this medicinal herb costs?" "You actually want 5? The girl really couldn't figure out what Xiao Chen wanted to do. "Moreover, I can't understand your prescription at all. What is the use of these medicinal herbs when combined together? Are you sure you want it? How much?" Xiao Chen also realized the seriousness of the problem. Looking at the girl's tone and expression, this medicinal herb is probably expensive. "But I'm sure I need it. According to the shop's price, this medicinal herb would cost at least 20,000. 5 would be 100,000. The girl said, "Are you sure you didn't randomly see a prescription somewhere?" "Of course, I'm not doubting you. It's for your own good." Xiao Chen looked at the girl's serious expression. He was a little helpless. He didn't think that the medicinal herbs would be so expensive. 1 medicinal herb costs 20,000. 5 medicinal herbs would cost 100,000. It seems that the 10,000 in his hand is simply not enough to do anything. What should I do? Borrow money from Miss? If he said it clearly, Miss would definitely lend it to him. But as for cultivation, Xiao Chen really didn't want to say it. Even if he had the strength, he couldn't say it for the time being. It wasn't that he didn't trust Miss, but he was afraid that Miss didn't have a deep social experience. If she revealed a flaw, then it wouldn't be worth it. "Yen so early. Is there a customer?" An old voice sounded. As the voice sounded, an old man wearing reading glasses, a white beard, and a tang suit walked out from the back of the shop. "Grandpa, this customer wants to get medicine, but his prescription." Hong Yen handed the prescription to the old man who had just walked out. "I don't understand it, and the medicinal herbs inside are very expensive." "Well, let me see." The old man took the prescription and stroked his beard. He sat on a chair and carefully looked at Xiao Chen's prescription. Although the old man didn't show any expression on his face, a storm was brewing in his heart. However, after he finished reading it, he looked at Xiao Chen without batting an eyelid. "Young lad, where did you copy this prescription from? Do you know the use of it?" Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He was an astute person. The old man did not say that the herbs in this prescription were expensive and useless like Hong Yen. Instead, he asked about the origins and uses of the prescription. Could it be that this old man could understand it? But that shouldn't be the case. This is a prescription that cultivators use to temper their bodies. How could this old man understand it? However, Xiaoqin didn't dare to expose it. He just said, I can't reveal the origin of this prescription, and it's hard to say what it does. Xiaoqin simply didn't make up a lie. With the old man's appearance, if he could understand it, then he understood it. If he couldn't, then he understood it. Xiaoqin didn't need to lie. A lie could be seen through at a glance. Do you understand the value of this prescription? Asked the old man. Just now, Miss Hong said that it costs 20,000 per pair, and 5 pairs require 100,000, said Xiaoqin. Hee Yin, did you add this bitter fruit into the calculation? Asked the old man with a smile. Grandpa, I've never heard of bitter fruit and the shop doesn't have it, so I didn't calculate it. Hong Yin shook her head and was a little embarrassed. Grandpa, is this medicine expensive? It's a small matter if it's expensive. The bitter fruit is hard to find. The old man said with a smile, if it weren't for an old friend of mine asking me to help collect it, I wouldn't have it, but I happen to have some left over. When Xiaoqin heard it, he suddenly showed a bitter face. The previous medicine was already expensive enough. Now that a bitter fruit was added, it seemed that it was even more valuable than a city. Xiaoqin could only ask weakly, Grandpa, how much does this medicine cost? If you can tell me the origin and use of this prescription, I can give you 5 pairs for free. The old man looked at Xiaoqin with a smile. This. Xiaoqin was shocked. Although the temptation was in front of him, Xiaoqin wasn't a person who only cared about immediate benefits. He just hesitated for a moment and shook his head decisively. Grandpa, I appreciate your kindness, but I really can't say it. Then there's no other way. Yin has already said that this medicine costs 20,000 without the bitter fruit. With the bitter fruit, it's at least 50,000. When the old man said this, he saw Xiaoqin's bitter face. He smiled slightly, changed the topic, and continued, however, I can give you a discount this time. 10,000 yuan per pair. Really? Xiaoqin couldn't believe his ears. Grandpa, are you kidding? I don't need to pay anything? No need, 10,000 yuan. The old man shook his head. Xiaoqin took a deep breath and solemnly took out an envelope from his shirt pocket. Although he was reluctant to part with it, this was the only property he had on him. However, the old man's 10,000 yuan was already a great discount. Xiaoqin wasn't afraid that the old man would lie to him. After all, Hong Yin had said before that this medicine cost 20,000 yuan without the bitter fruit. The old man only took 10,000 yuan. Obviously, it was a huge discount. Thank you, Grandpa. I will earn money as soon as possible to buy the remaining 4 pairs. This is all I have today. I can only buy 1 pair. Although Xiaoqin wondered why the old man would give him a discount, Xiaoqin was sure that it must be because of his own prescription. This old man was likely to see something in it, but Xiaoqin wasn't sure what he saw. The old man wasn't polite. He accepted Xiaoqin's 10,000 yuan, and then said to Hong Yin, Yin, you take care of the other medicinal materials on this prescription. I will go get the bitter fruit. Okay, Grandpa. At this moment, Hong Yin looked at Xiaoqin with an even stranger gaze. Although she didn't ask, her grandpa didn't say anything after seeing the prescription. He only asked about its origin. Obviously, this prescription wasn't a useless prescription in her eyes. Moreover, her grandpa actually gave Xiaoqin a big discount, which made Hong Yin feel strange. The price of her family's pharmacy wasn't expensive. On the contrary, it was very cheap. Hong Yin's evaluation of Xiaoqin was already based on the lowest price, but her grandpa actually gave him a 20% discount, which made Hong Yin somewhat puzzled. Chapter 44. The old man came out just as he grabbed the herbs. He placed a small red fruit into the herbs. However, this small red fruit made Xiaoqin's eyes narrow. His heart was in turmoil. This was because he was very familiar with this small fruit. He had just seen it yesterday. This small fruit was the fruit that Yi Xiaoya kept in the fridge. Yesterday, Xiaoqin was a little curious about what it was. Why did Yi Xiaoya put a fruit in the medicine? Today he found out that it was called the bitter fruit. TSK, this Yi Xiaoya is really rich. She can even afford such expensive herbs? I wonder what the medicinal soup she brewed is for? Grandpa, what kind of medicine is this bitter fruit usually used for? Xiaoqin asked calmly. I don't use it much. I only use it for some special prescriptions. However, if you don't tell me, I won't tell you either. The old man smiled at Xiaoqin as if saying, You want to know? You want to know? I won't tell you. Xiaoqin was a little speechless. He didn't expect this old man to be so vengeful. However, there was nothing he could do. He couldn't expose his secret just because of his curiosity, right? Therefore, Xiaochen didn't say anything more. He picked up the wrapped herbs and quickly walked out of the pharmacy. After Xiaochen left, Hong Yen turned to look at the old man. "Grandpa Chen, what is this bitter fruit? Why have I never heard of it?" "Miss Yen, because this bitter fruit is not very common and the person who bought the medicine doesn't need it, I didn't put it out." The old man actually changed the way he addressed Hong Yen. If Xiaochen was present, he would be extremely surprised. It turned out that this old man and Hong Yen weren't actually grandfather and granddaughter. The old man's surname was Chin, and Hong Yan's surname was Hong. Then the person who bought it just now. Hong Yen was a little confused. "Grandpa Chin, what is the use of this bitter fruit?" "I'm not sure about the specific use. Perhaps this thing is originally not something that people of my level can come into contact with," Grandpa Chin said with a bitter smile. "Grandpa Chin, so you were lying to him before?" Hong Yen looked at the old man strangely. Previously, the old man wanted to get information from Xiao Chen, but he didn't expect that Grandpa Chen didn't know about the use of the bitter fruit. I can't say that I'm lying. At least I know a few prescriptions that require bitter fruits. It's just that I don't know the specific uses of these prescriptions." Grandpa Chen said, "I've seen some of the herbs in the prescription that the young man brought before in other prescriptions. Because I don't know the use of this prescription, I want to ask about it." "I see." Hong Yen nodded. "Grandpa Chen is really a profiteer." "Haha, Miss Yen, in our line of work, profit comes first." Grandpa Chen laughed. "Then why did Grandpa Chen give him a discount?" Hong Yen found it a little unbelievable. "It can be considered an investment," Grandpa Chen said. Hong Yen nodded as she didn't really understand. Xiao Chen was carrying a bag of priceless medicine. The pocket on his body was deflated. The remaining 200 yuan was given by Miss Yen. Xiao Chen could only be frugal with this money. Originally, Xiao Chen wanted to go to the electronics store to buy an electric clay pot for decocting medicine. However, when he saw the price of 299 yuan, Xiao Chen's mouth twitched. He didn't have enough money to buy it. He could only go back and discuss with Yi Xiaoya if he could borrow her electric clay pot for himself. "Elder Heaven Ancestor, isn't the prescription you gave me a bit too expensive?" Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile. "Who knows what the prices are like now? Moreover, I rarely buy things in the secular world." Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't expect that the medicine he listed would cost so much money. It made Xiao Chen so embarrassed. "Forget it, it seems that I have to find a way to earn some money. I just bought one set and I'm already broke. There's still a long way to go before I can buy 5 sets. Xiao Chen sighed. To be honest, Xiao Chen didn't have any concept of money in the past. But now, a penny really stumped a hero. It wasn't that Xiao Chen didn't think about borrowing money from Zhuing Xiong, but Xiao Chen knew that Zhuing Xiong didn't usually have a lot of pocket money. Although if Xiao Chen asked, Zhuing Xiong would definitely help Xiao Chen, but Zhuing Xiong would definitely ask Xiao Chen what he needed the money for. At that time, Xiao Chen didn't want to lie to his good brother, so he could only give up for the time being. "Xiao Chen, this isn't a problem of 5 sets. These 5 sets are only for those who have reached the 3rd level of qi refining stage. There will be more after that, and the medicine will be even rarer, so I'm afraid the price will be even more expensive," Elder Heaven Ancestor said. "The most important thing is whether you can buy them or not." "Really?" Xiao Chen was stunned and then smiled bitterly. It seemed that his road to poverty had just begun. This made Xiao Chen feel that he should do something. He could borrow money from Zhuing Xiong once, but he couldn't borrow money endlessly, right? Not to mention that Zhuing Xiong didn't have that much. Even if Zhuing Xiong didn't ask once, twice, or 3 times, how could he not ask? With a depressed face, Xiao Chen walked into the classroom. Before buying the medicine, it took some time, so Xiao Chen almost stepped into the classroom when the class bell rang. Originally, when Lu Jinming saw that Xiao Chen didn't come today, he was quite surprised. Then he guessed excitedly, did Vicious Wolf kill Xiao Chen first, and then he was killed by someone courageously? Thinking about it, it was not impossible. As for the fact that Xiao Chen's body was not found, perhaps Vicious Wolf had already disposed of the body, so it was impossible to find it in a short time. But now Xiao Chen appeared in the classroom intact, which made Lu Jinming's original excitement suddenly feel like being poured with cold water. "Damn, this guy is actually fine?" Lu Jinming murmured with a gloomy face. "It seems that this guy is lucky. Brother Ming, we can only bear with this matter for now." Skinny Monkey also didn't have any good ideas. After all, he had already announced that the matter of Mongang's sect was over. It was impossible to find trouble with Xiao Qin in a short time. Forget it. Let's not study this bumpkin anymore. How's the plan of saving the damsel in distress? Lu Zhenming asked. I've talked to Mongang's sect and he also said that he will cooperate with us. It's just that the guy is too stupid and I'm afraid that he will be in a daze. But with my help there shouldn't be any big problem, Skinny Monkey said. The most important problem now is that we don't have a chance. No chance? What chance? Lu Zhenming was dumbfounded. Brother Ming, it's a chance to rob. Cheng Menjing goes to and from school with Jean Bebe every day, and she's driving. How can we rob her? If we try to stop a car, Jean Bebe, that tigress might really run us over. Skinny Monkey didn't dare to stop Jean Bebe's car. He hadn't lived long enough. Lu Zhenming nodded. He didn't blame Skinny Monkey for being timid, but Jean Bebe really dared to do that. She died, then so be it. She couldn't even find a place to reason with her. The robber died because of a car crash and you still want to reason with her? If you go to the Jean family, not only will you be admitting that the robber was hired by Lu Zhenming, but old Master Jean might not be reasonable either. With old Master Jin's personality, even if he hacked Lu Zhenming to death, his death would be in vain. Let's find a chance. Don't be hasty. Lu Zhenming pondered for a moment and said, I don't believe that Jean Bebe will have a chance if she follows Cheng Menjing every day. Ask Mongang's sect to be ready. She will be here whenever I call her. Okay, Brother Ming. Skinny Monkey nodded. When Cheng Menjing saw that Xiao Qin walked into the classroom very late again, a hint of suspicion flashed in her eyes. Where did this guy go this time? Did he go to find Tang Tang again? But Tang Tang had been here for a long time. That was impossible. Cousin Menjing, are you thinking of my brother-in-law? Jean Bebe asked while eating a lollipop. Yeah, why do you think he came so late? Cheng Menjing said subconsciously, but after saying it, she quickly changed her words. Who would miss him? Come or not? Sister Menjing, you don't mean what you say. Jean Bebe said with a smile. Don't hit me. I understand. Cheng Menjing raised her hand and put it down helplessly. She glared at Jean Bebe and said, Eat your lollipop. Why did he come so late? Tang Tang was also curious. It was impossible for Xiao Qin to get up late. Cheng Menjing came earlier than her. It was impossible for Xiao Qin not to get up. I walked here, Xiao Qin said with a bitter smile. Walked here? Are you serious? You don't have money? Tang Tang immediately figured out the reason. You can't be so poor just because you treated us to a buffet yesterday, can you? You don't even have money to take the bus? It's not that bad. I do have money, but I just want to save some money. Xiao Qin said, By the way, Tang Tang, do you have any way to make money? You want to make money? Tang Tang was slightly stunned. She did not expect Xiao Qin to be short of money so soon. But after thinking for a while, she said in a low voice, You don't need much money for 3 meals a day, do you? You'd better stop working and focus on your studies. A young master like you is not the kind to suffer. I can take care of breakfast and lunch for you. You can't starve yourself for dinner with Cheng Menjing, can you? Xiao Qin took out the medicine bag from his pocket and waved it in front of Tang Tang. He told a white lie, I've been weak since I was a child and can't practice internal force. You know that, don't you? I have to take a lot of medicine every month and this is a big start. If I don't make money, I'm afraid I can't afford it at all. Tang Tang suddenly realized that Xiao Qin was weak and sick since he was a child was not a secret, so she was not surprised. I see. You don't need much money to buy medicine, do you? 1,000 yuan should be enough, right? I gritted my teeth and saved a little money and then I came out. Although Tang Tang said that she didn't care, she was calculating in her heart. From tomorrow on, she had to get up earlier and prepare more ingredients for soybean milk and deep-fried dough sticks. Otherwise, she wouldn't have much money left after deducting the rent and expenses. Xiao Chen's medical fee of 1,000 yuan really put her in a tight spot. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.